And we're live with a bunch of cool Eternal Life fans. So this is the Hangout where we're going to talk about preparedness. And it's Groundhog Day. And I've consulted with some underground mole people living underground, and I've asked them about their survival strategies. These are the experts. So I have some things we could talk about. And we're going to talk about, let's just introduce you guys first. Let's start with you, Ferrant.
Well,
Introduce yourself.
I'm a European, I suppose, though I don't sound like that. I plan to live for as long as possible, and probably a lot longer than most people expect to live for, I'd say, on the range of centuries. So, of course, it's important, among other things, to fund research in biology and so on, but very specifically, living longer. But also, it's important to live in low-risk areas where you don't just randomly die because of crime, because of natural disasters, and so on. So, for example, I live in a relatively a landlocked country with no tectonic activity, no volcanism. It's got an independent power supply. Its power supply is independent of like coal infrastructure and stuff like that. And yeah, it's
Cool.
relatively.
So self-sufficiency.
It's relatively
Awesome.
It's not very good at like producing food and stuff, but it's also like politically insignificant. So if there was like a World War III, it won't be the first country to be nuked. Things like that. And also just sort of general lifestyle, not doing high risk activities and so on. But as for like a very specific personal level plan, I don't have that for survival in the case of a disaster yet.
All right.
Beyond
We'll
living
discuss
in an
about
ideal place.
the survival plans. Let's go with let's start with everyone's intro
So
first.
I
Okay,
gotta
so
go
that
right
was
now.
wonderful, Ferrant. Okay, let's start with Ian before he goes. Then, Ian, introduce yourself, and then we'll have to see you leave, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, Ian Murphy here. Just I'm at work right now. Artist. Still trying to figure out my eternal life strategy, but I might talk to you guys if you guys are still around in the next 2 hours. I gotta go. Sorry.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye. It was great having you for a little bit. All right, let's go with Raymond, and then we'll save the best for last. Haley.
Well, hello. I am Ray. I am a 20-year-old. I live in Michigan in the Rust Belt. I'm sort of a fan of yours. I like your videos. I like your intention in trying to live over the course of eternity and never die. I'm very interested in that. I have my own thoughts about the best ways to do that. But I cannot find people with whom to have this conversation. I cannot find a friend of mine who wants to live more than 90 years, which baffles me. And so I've taken to the internets to fulfill this conversation.
Awesome. I think a lot of people are in your situation. It's hard to find people that actually want to live forever. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But glad to see you here. First timer here. That's awesome. And you definitely want to live forever then.
I want to live as long as I can, and this isn't what I view as myself isn't my body. I want at least my consciousness in however many memories can come with that. Obviously, I don't remember everything I did when I was 9, but I still have some memories from there. It would be proportional. If I lived to be 9,000, I would have perhaps proportional amount of memories when I was 1,000 years old. It would work like that. But I do want to live as long as possible.
And do you think it's possible to live forever?
I do think it is possible. I think it'll ultimately come down to stopping the aging process and the mutation of genes and things that are being done with CRISPR right now is I cannot wrap my head around it. I don't understand how cool it is and how important it is.
All right. Are you a fan of Aubrey de Grey and stuff?
I've read some of his stuff. You were the first person to show me that he exists. But I'm sort of an information junkie, and I will just take in everything as much as I can and filter it through certain things like wanting to live forever and other things in which I'm interested. So that's my daily life.
Awesome. So before we go into Haley, I want to ask you one more question, Raymond. Like, how old were you when you got into this? When did you start thinking about I wanted to live forever?
Oh no, very recently. I think most people go through a very pessimistic, cynical teenage years, during which it's sort of a romantic cynicism, a romantic pessimism. You and your friends all sort of just self-hate each other in your groups, and it's sort of it's sort of romanticized. But after you get past that, you just I do not want to die. It is absolutely untenable to me. I can't accept it. I thinking about death makes me it is the way in which you can't describe it, the stutters you give, and it's the perfect way to describe it, because it shows that you're actually trying to describe the way in which you can't deal with death, and you can't deal with the concept of death. I can't do it. I can't describe to you how.
So basically, you're terrified of death, and you see it as like me.
Very much so, and we'd have to have conversations about the word terrifying and like what fear is and how we should fear things.
Yeah.
But definitely, I would use those words. Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wow, you'd fit in right here. You fit in right.
Yeah.
You found the right place. All right. So, Haley, let's go on to you. Haley obviously needs no introduction. She's a regular, but go ahead, Haley. Give a little intro. How are you feeling? What's new with Haley?
Well, my dad's been unwell again.
Oh no.
He seems to be getting more and more unwell now as time goes on. I mean, he's 82 in April.
Well, tell us about yourself though. Like what how'd you get into this thing about wanting to live forever? Yeah, well, why do you want to live forever? How about that? Do you want to live forever, and why do you want to live forever?
Because I absolutely hate aging and death. I think they're the most awful things that can happen to anyone, as I've experienced with my mum. The person who I love the most is now gone, and I'm not going to ever see her again. And I still miss her every day. You know, wishing I could bring her back to life and to make her better.
Well said. Yeah. It's the ultimate tragedy, like losing people you love to aging, and then ultimately we'll all have to face that one day if we don't do something about it, if we don't cure aging. It sucks, man. It's a nightmare. All right, well, that's a good intro, and let's get into like some survival strategies. So I'm interested in knowing, everyone in the panel today, like what are you doing in case of a doomsday event, like a viral pandemic, maybe a chemical attack, nuclear warfare, natural disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, anything like that. A situation where there would be like rioting or some kind of martial law. What are you guys doing for that? I have some ideas of my own, but I'm curious about what are you guys doing? Are you guys doing anything?
Yeah, just
anybody.
Where you live is a big factor in there. I mean, I am not going to experience an earthquake. I live in Michigan. I actually have experienced an earthquake though. I just remembered that. It was a very small one though. I'm never going to be harmed by an earthquake, and I live within the most fresh water on any planet we've ever found ever. I mean, I am near where life will be the longest as long as that water's there. So that's just a huge thing if I'm here a long time and have to deal with catastrophic events. But same goes for
Awesome. Well,
wherever.
geez, you're making me jealous. That's
Oh yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Come to the fucking Rust Belt right now and deal with all this snow. I don't
Yeah.
know what
Oh.
Ferran's name is or what country he lives in, but whatever he described sounds better than my position.
Oh, well, I'll probably talk it up. Incorrectly said it was a landlocked country.
Yeah.
I live in the country of Norway, which is
Oh, nice. I was about to
described as
guess
the richest
earlier.
country in the world. It's not landlocked at all, but it's
You are
positioned in such a way that a tsunami is unlikely to do much damage. Like, it has sheer mountains on the coasts, and everything's inland, basically.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sheltered. It's pretty insignificant strategically, at least in modern times. It used to be very important, like in the Second World War and so on. We don't have large amounts of water, but all of our, like 95% of the energy generation is hydro. And also, so our water generates the power. So if there's like a huge problem, global trade network breaks down, you can't ship coal to furnaces to burn it. No problem for us. And like, we've got plenty of water, so we're not going to thirst to death.
And whatever you guys have been doing has absolutely been working, because I don't know if you've heard of the World Happiness Report, but it ranks Norway as just the happiest country
I've heard about that.
on the face of the earth.
It's in the top 10 on a lot of different scales.
It is incredible. I think the United States is behind Mexico. I know Mexico is statistically happier than the United States.
Of those measurements that Norway's in the top 10 of.
Yeah, no doubt Norway's great.
So, like, living in a safe place is obviously like one of the most important things, right?
Oh yeah.
Where do you guys think is actually like the safest location in the entire world? Like, if in terms of natural disasters, in terms of everything, factoring in all factors, what's the safest place to live? Switzerland?
Yeah, or
I would think it would be some mountainous region with a lower population.
Well, Switzerland is surrounded by mountains, and they've actually made procedures to prepare for some sort of third world war. They're ready to blow away all the tunnels that lead to their country, and so then all they need to defend their nation is air support, which they have plenty of. They have internal food growth, which is the main advantage they have above Norway, as well as the mountains. Norway has to basically ship in most of its food. Like, we only make cheese and dairy here, dairy products and fish. So that's not enough to live on. But
Swiss cheese.
Switzerland grows a lot of its own food. But they have a lot of like readiness plans. But I'd say there's a lot of different places. If you could find a way to get water reliably, somewhere like Central Australia, it's just far away from most people in the world. And like, that itself is very safe. It's, again, tectonically stable. You're never going to find a tsunami in the outback. And it's not like there's some really terrible, poorly run government there either. Like, that's a Western country. Australia, as a country in total, is also high up on those same lists of like well-being and little corruption and all these things. I'd say Canada, certain parts of Canada, probably up there. Again, probably the landlocked ones, the ones which are more affluent and where food is available. But yeah, maybe the areas which are supplied by the nuclear power instead of coal power. I don't know. You could probably like do a real project and map out the safest places to be in different criteria and like mark off. It'll be different for different people who think there's different dangers. For example, maybe earthquakes aren't really that common enough to care about. Then your priorities change.
Yeah, a lot of people are. It's weird. You see a lot of people acting like the zombie apocalypse is a real It's a real scenario that could happen.
Well,
But
it's
I
a
mean,
good exercise in
it's
preparedness, isn't it? It's a useful use of the imagination. And the thing
yeah.
is
I mean,
that
I think we could
people
see
who are trying to survive
a viral,
probably act a
like
bit
a zombie
like zombies.
apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
if you defend yourself
if
against
there's a
other people.
virus that infects the brain, right?
Well,
Gonna
no,
make people like a zombie.
I think you can see examples like here. There was some silly thing like there was a butter shortage worldwide, and because we produce dairy in this country, like butter is like really central to culture, and then people start like hoarding and stocking up, even though like there's no danger ever. But people's behaviors in times of shortages and times of disrupt very quickly deteriorate. I think there's some quote that our whole society is only 2 missed meals away from total anarchy or something like that. And that's, I think, largely true. So it's a good exercise for like, okay.
So does anyone have an underground bunker? Does anyone have an underground bunker where they can bunker away if there's ever like a horrible situation where everyone's rioting and there's a pandemonium?
No, I'm as
A lot of these things only
rich
rich people could. I think a lot of these things only rich
Yeah.
people would have.
I'd say there's diminishing
unfortunate.
returns, but of course every extra bit helps. Like I was talking about the masks earlier. Did you read that?
Can't recall.
Okay, it's on the
The
Discord.
masks?
Yes, the breathing mask.
The masks? The what? Oh, the gas masks. Oh, the hazmat suits. Yeah.
There's,
That's a
there's
great
different
idea.
qualities of them, right? And like maybe the one you can just buy in a store somewhere is like actually pretty useless for things you actually care about, like particles which cause cancer or whatever. But it's stupid to buy the most expensive mask in the world. You'd rather have like cheaper ones everywhere so that you've got one accessible in the case of a air quality degradation event. And so again, with the things rich people can do, every little bit helps, but I think there's diminishing returns on what can be done.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that poor people can do too, and that's the advice I want to give to everyone, because a lot of us are not rich enough to afford like a underground panic room in their house or something. This is like the rich people. Things that we poor people can do, like get iodine. You guys know about getting iodine. If there's a nuclear disaster, if you get a system, you won't get a goitrogen, you won't get a thyroid cancer, because that's what a lot of people die from if there's a nuclear disaster. But if you have enough iodine in your system, all that iodine soaks up into your thyroid, so you don't get the radioactive iodine. You guys heard about that?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the top things I think we could do, and I'd like your guys' thoughts on this, is prepare for a viral pandemic, because that's like one of the biggest concerns that I would have, is because we saw in America there was a time where we had the bird flu, the Spanish bird flu, I think, or was the avian bird flu, and it killed like 50 million people. We could see a lot. We could see a repeat scenario like that, don't you think, where massive amounts of people are dying? And I think a lot of the top scientists agree that this is a real threat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that may happen just as the viral thing existing, but our ability to quarantine it seems just unprecedented. I don't think it would ever actually fulfill its viral purpose. It just will simply exist, and that can be due to just factors of just the massive population that we have right now, things mutating at higher rates. I don't know what could compound into what will eventually be this big viral upset that we see. But I'm fairly confident that we can deal with it, at least on an entirely physical basis, if not chemical.
And then we have the issue of, let's say there was a viral pandemic. Would you trust the vaccines that they're putting out there? Some vaccine, like, oh, we have this vaccine, just take this vaccine. Would you trust it, or would you be skeptical and be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't? Maybe I should just go into my own arsenal of herbs and different supplements that could be antiviral? Or would you go with the mainstream vaccines that they're just giving to everyone? That's another question we need to think about.
I probably would end up taking the vaccine. I'm not too um, uh, distrusting of bureaucracy and governmental bureaucracy. I think it would have my best intentions at heart and would want to save me as the populace. That's just me. Some
Interesting.
people may be
Yeah,
more,
you're
I
kind of
think-
opposite of me. I'm very distrusting. I'm very distrusting of these
Yeah.
bureaucratic people.
I think it would be difficult.
What if they
to-
slipped in? What if they
I mean,
slipped
what-
in some they purposely slipped in some virus to kill us all, and it was like this part of their
But I mean, you don't
agenda.
need
More
you
people
don't
are
need-
dying from their vaccine than the virus.
I mean, you don't
Who
need a
knows?
pre-existing virus to have that paranoia. I mean, you can just have that day to day. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, if you live in America, you have fluoride in your water. They're doing that. They're saying they're doing that. I think they're doing that. I think they should keep doing that. But just given that they're open about that, what do you think else that they might be putting in there? You should just be losing your mind in a schizophrenic panic all the time. If that's your thought process. I don't see how
or
you're-
just take proactive steps. Well, I
there's
just
really
don't.
easy ways for government to
I
kill
just
off
don't.
people.
I don't trust it.
There's really, really easy ways.
So
Like,
I
for
mean, I don't have
example-
to. I don't have to freak out and be schizophrenic.
You
I
can
could
have
just.
a healthy distrust. Yeah, it seems that you have that. Yeah. Absolutely. What was Furin saying?
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah, what were you
that's
saying?
a very convoluted way of trying to kill off the populace of a country. There's really
Yeah.
much ways. For example, you could legalize compounds in certain foods and subsidize companies which produce these foods and make them very popular. And then enough people, because it's cheapest, the free market forces at work will buy it and they will die. And that actually happens. In the US, you have this obesity epidemic.
For sure.
And more people than anywhere else in the world are dying because of this very strong political propaganda against fat and for sugar, and not just any kind of sugar, but this corn syrup sugar, which is the least healthy kind of sugar there is, as far as I know. And it's just mass produced and sold to people because it's subsidized. So,
Oh, yeah.
like, that's a way you could kill off your population, and the US is doing that. And that's way, way easier than a convoluted plot to have a real viral outbreak and then have a fake vaccine for that viral outbreak.
Yeah.
Also, we have Wi-Fi everywhere. So some people say that they are hypersensitive to Wi-Fi. So you could make Wi-Fi emitters that are actually radioactive and kill off people that way.
But here's the thing though,
There's
like
many,
they
many
could still
easier ways
do
to
the
do it.
virus. They could still do the vaccine option as a way of killing off people because a lot of smart people, health nuts, wouldn't be eating their unhealthy food and their gross stuff, their food. So they might want to scare these people with a pandemic into taking they can kill them off that way. Because otherwise, these people might
Why
be
does the
just too
government wanna
smart
kill
to eat
off
the
its
unhealthy
best
food.
assets, though? I don't understand. I mean, obviously they want to kill off the ignorant masses of people who are holding them back. Because the smart people create a lot of value for society, whereas people who don't are the burden on a country. So, like, I don't understand why government would want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
I mean,
they have different
that's a very
ideas as
horrible
as
line
to
of
what.
thought, and I don't endorse that, but
Well,
it's a fact.
Well, maybe these people have different ideas as to like what would qualify as the smart people that they want to keep around versus the people they don't want to keep around.
Well, you said the
You
smart
know.
people wouldn't take vaccines or they wouldn't eat the food or whatever. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. But in terms of just pure survival stuff, yeah, I think also even in the same country, you can choose to live in neighborhoods which are more dangerous than others. For example, earlier we mentioned about immigration and this certain demographic of people who cause a lot of violent crime. And you can very, very easily avoid this simply by not living in an area where there's crime hotspots. And there are maps of these crime, like where most crime happens and so on. I've seen them for this country and made living decisions based on that. So yeah, you could, I think in poor areas, there's more desperation, there's more economic crime, because people simply, they need money, so it's easier for them to turn to crime to make up for that. And in these sort of informal transactions, if I can call them that, there's a lot of risk of injury and death. So basically mugging or whatever, or break-ins. But if you live in a neighborhood or an area where that just doesn't happen as often, then you're reducing your risk. So I think that also when you're talking about a large disaster, you need to consider what the probability of that disaster is in orders of like how much of your resources, because as you said, we're not all very rich here, do you spend? How much of your resources do you spend on day-to-day improving your chance of surviving? And how much percentage do you spend on unlikely things that could happen?
Well, I mean,
yeah, great point.
You say unlikely. I just think it's good to prepare for everything, like be prepared for anything. Hope for the best, but expect the worst.
If we all had infinite money, we could do that. But you sort of have to prioritize a bit and spend some amount of your money on disaster preparedness, some on healthy food, and so on. And I'd say that in terms of biological threats, there's what's called the existential risks, things that could wipe out humanity. So biological is one of those things. A supervolcano or a meteorite is another thing. And you have like World War III, that's another thing. And some people talk about how technology could wipe us out somehow, and so on. So these existential risks, I think of those, the biological one is the most infrastructure and money is already invested in protecting against that. Like the Ebola outbreak was stopped remarkably quickly because of the CDC's efforts and so on. They stopped it really quickly. Like a lot of people died, but a lot less compared to, as you said, the example with the Spanish flu. And so I'd say that other things that there's not as much resources invested in preventing, probably interesting to focus on an individual basis.
Here's an interesting idea I want your guys' opinion on. As far as like preventing a viral pandemic, do you think it could be helpful to avoid eating animals? Because if we eat animals, we'd be more susceptible to the viruses that those animals carry. Like, for instance, if there was a pig swine flu, maybe the people who eat lots of pig are going to be more susceptible to getting that swine flu.
Oh,
makes sense, right?
Absolutely. I'm just mammals and the things we call animals. We're very open organisms. We have orifices. We diffuse and infuse. There's a lot of movement of fluids and stuff. So there's a lot of room for disease transfer and things like that. But I mean, it's good to just discount and just disavow eating animals just in general, without, even if you want to live a better 100 years rather than live over the course of eternity, just not putting those in, not putting other bodies in your body is a healthy decision, and I think a moral one.
Healthier. I'm not sure by how much, but yeah.
Oh yeah. It's yeah.
And here's another idea I want to bounce off you guys. See what your guys' thoughts on this is. In the days of the Black Plague, you guys know the Black Plague, right? It was killing a bunch of people. There was supposedly the milkmaids. This is a story I heard. You could maybe try to verify this, but I think the milkmaids who were drinking the milk and the colostrum of their animals, the cows, they had increased vaccine immunity to the plague because the cows were producing antibodies against the virus, such as the Black Plague, and they were getting part of those antibodies when they drank the milk, the raw milk of the cows. Do you think there's some truth to that? I think I've researched that.
Were they actually suckling on the cow? Was that you make it seem like that?
They were drinking. Well, these milkmaids and these people, they would drink the raw milk. So when the milk is raw, it has the antibodies intact, and they would get some of the colostrum. That first milking that is most high in the antibodies and stuff. This could be a good thing. It's like a natural vaccine for people that are skeptical of the vaccines and all these things, stuff like that, drinking some raw milk of the different animals.
Mm-hmm. And it, was there a question tied to that?
Oh, just wanting what your thoughts on that. Does that make sense? Do you guys think that's a good idea?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's better if a baby drinks from the mother's the biological mother's breast than anything else during the first initial years of life, because that it boosts the immune system and helps just the structure of every structure of the body. So other animals
Breastfeeding is so important.
other animals' breast milk would probably have tantamount things in them which could be purposeful or even better than ours in some way, and we can just make the best. We can make better milk and things like that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because it brings up if there were ever a viral pandemic as we're discussing right now. It's interesting to think about, could the cure already be out there, naturalized in nature? It already exists. We don't have to synthesize it. It's way more organic than we think it needs to be. That's an interesting idea to me. But I don't have any.
It is an interesting idea. Yeah, I feel sorry for anyone that wasn't breastfed. Was everyone breastfed in this panel?
Oh yeah,
Probably, yeah.
Awesome. It's so important.
I don't know about
it
whether
really is.
humans drinking cow's milk is the most natural thing there. I mean, I don't think it's in the same way that breastfeeding. When you think about it, the milk is for...
Oh, yeah, no. Obviously, like, human milk is going to be best for humans, for sure.
Yeah.
Clearly.
But I'd say...
So does anyone on this panel have any... Oh, there you go.
In terms of, like, trying by yourself to, like, invent a vaccine or cure for a viral outbreak or biological, like a bacterial outbreak, faster than a different research organization or all of the research organizations altogether, I think that's not very likely. So I wouldn't personally try to like find a cure by myself. But maybe if we're all working as a team, we could do it faster than the rest of the researchers in the world.
There's the one question of can we live over the course of eternity? How confident are you guys that we can actually find another place to live once our planet is basically vaporized, if not scorched to...
We can build it.
Rock.
We have enough time. We've got at least 1,000 years and probably more than 3 million.
Oh, we've got way more than 1,000 years. We've got close to a few billion.
Yeah.
But we've got it in the millions of years, so I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I think we'll have enough time. Maybe Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they're like building planets. They're like making the scaffolding and they're building their own planets. We could do stuff like that in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm confident.
I'd love to talk about the politics of the scary hippies who don't want to move neighboring stars around so that we can use them. Politics, that would be a very interesting topic in a couple of centuries. But I don't think it's worth discussing it now, or just for fun.
So does anyone have any like amazing survival skills they'd like to share? Like anyone like a survivalist? Do you guys like know how to spot plants in nature that are edible?
I do not.
I only know a couple.
It's a very useful skill when you think about it, isn't it? If you are ever just like lost in the wild, here's a survival skill everyone should know. You could, in a situation where you needed to, if you were dying of dehydration, and a lot of people have actually saved their lives by doing this, you could actually drink your own urine. It is sterile.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I know about like snow survival tactics, but not like survival tactics. Well, like if you're in an avalanche, how you survive that and stuff like that. I know a bit about, but not about like survival tactics, like what food.
It's a really good one to remember though, because a lot of people would literally die, and they would die because they didn't know that they could just drink their own urine. especially like if you were in the ocean, because you can't drink ocean water; it's too salty.
No, you'll die.
Recycle your own urine for quite a long time.
Yeah, I think it's about a month. I'm not sure about that, but yeah.
I think you may have to
that's
recycle your
3
own
weeks
puke
left,
one
right?
or 2 times as well.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, you wouldn't want to lose that water, those
No,
fluids.
Keep that pee puke in. Keep it in.
But I think the best
Mhm.
protection is don't end up stranded in the ocean. Like you can take steps to not end up in that situation in the first
Right.
place.
Yes, indeed. Does anyone have any cool survival gear? So there's one survival gear I think is probably the most important, and that is a water filter.
Yeah.
Does anyone have? It's a good thing to have a water filter.
I've been really thinking of buying one
Now,
just because
Raymond lives in a place where there's already lots of fresh, good water.
We are
know.
the Louisiana of the North. There are just swamps everywhere, but no alligators. They're just lakes and just it is wet as fuck. But I have thought about getting a nice one of those water filters just because they look so cool, and just to be able to just go up to a body of water, stick it in, and drink pure filtered water. That's just got to be just a feeling of such
probably good to live.
such dominance over where I am. Yeah, I might do that. I just spent all my money though.
Really cheap,
So
actually.
I'll have to
You
wait.
can just buy 10.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
A good idea also is to create a bug out bag. You guys know the idea of a bug out bag? It's like a bag you can have in case of emergencies. You rush out of the house and it's got all your survival stuff in it. Your flashlights, your batteries, all your supplies, your gas mask, maybe a gun. Do you guys have that sort of thing?
I sort of carry my bag around with me every day, but it hasn't got much in the way of food at the moment. But I had a period where I made my own non-perishable food, or like long-term storage food. You may have heard of soylent.
Like freeze-dried food or drives or something, herbs or something.
Mostly powdered and
dried.
like nuts and stuff like that. So you like just add water and you drink it, and it's like nutritionally complete and so on. But
freeze-dried people.
not
Soylent Green. It's people.
Yeah, no, I know. But I like made it myself with more sort of natural components, because like the normal product is that you can buy is like a lot of manufactured chemical foods, and like they're nutritionally chemically complete, but like it's maybe a bit healthier if you make it from more mixed up components like nuts and seeds and so on, and whatever else. So I've done that experiment, and I've got like the ingredients for it at home, but I haven't really been doing that very consistently. But I reckon like it's relatively easy to have like a week's worth of food in a backpack and carry it around with you everywhere. So yeah, that's So I don't carry food with me, but I carry like other stuff, like my laptop I've always got with me and so on, pretty much regardless.
That's good.
And that's a very useful tool, actually.
Have you guys thought about what to do if there was ever fallout? Because there's places in America where it's just everywhere, and we could see something like Fukushima, where there's this nuclear power plant that breaks down, and then you just got nuclear fallout in the atmosphere. What would you do in that situation? Be good to have a hazmat suit, gas mask. Maybe underground if you had that sort of situation.
Independent water supply, surface accessible, because the water. And of course,
water.
The radiation detector, so you could just like screen stuff that you're putting in.
They say an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, so it'd be better just not to live next to a nuclear power plant. That's one of the. If you're an Eternal Life fan watching this, that's like one of my top advices. Do not live next to a nuclear power plant. Don't. That's not worth it.
In general, even
I
like
think
if you live next to
I'm less than 15 miles from one. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
But I think
know where it is now.
Because the regulations on these sorts of things are so strict, you actually get more radiation exposure from coal power plants, where the natural operation is that they spew out the waste product into the atmosphere, And in some coal, like there's some tiny portion of radioactive material anyway.
Nuclear.
So it just rains on you because that's like normal. But with a nuclear power plant, it's like locked down super tight. And I think the Fukushima reactor was older than the Chernobyl one. You ever realize that?
Right.
And the reason for that is that the limitations, or the safety limitations, because these damn hippies on the limitations on upgrading them, the safety regulations. I just got feedback. The point is that the money cost of upgrading the safety features on these older power plants is so high that they just bribe the politicians to grandfather in the old reactors and keep running them. And that wouldn't be the case if the regulations weren't that strict. Like, they would actually be safer if it was cheaper to upgrade these nuclear power plants. So it's really counterproductive, an example of bureaucratic idiocy, basically. Same thing happened after Fukushima with Germany. Germany closed a bunch of nuclear reactors, and then Russia, which has lower standards, they said, great, we'll run ours for 10 years longer. So actually the risk of nuclear fallout was increased by Germany's actions because the price of energy went up. But sorry, I got really off track there.
No,
there's a lot of things worth considering. And
Absolutely.
where you live is a very big factor in this sort of thing, yes.
Yeah, I am 71.5 miles from a nuclear power plant. So
Whoa.
I feel pretty safe. And it's
I
got all
wouldn't.
that. It's got that nice flat water to travel over.
Yeah.
Good to me.
Okay, well, this advice would be especially important for you, Raymond, if considering you live so close to a nuclear power plant. There's a lot of things you could do in the event of a nuclear disaster that you could consume certain things, edibles that would absorb the radiation. It's very important, like clays, zeolites, look into zeolites, activated charcoal. All these things can absorb some of the radiation.
No need. I would not stand my ground. I am going straight through Ohio down. I will not. I'm not fighting fallout. I am falling out.
Yeah. But what if like the highways were blocked and like you just like saw this nuclear cloud and it's just like falling out into, you know?
And that's more likely to happen in case of a disaster, right?
I ride my bike everywhere. I can make it through anything. I will get out.
That's good. That's healthy.
Michigan, isn't that where a lot of Lyme disease cases are, or am I mistaken? Is there a lot of Lymes over there?
You talking about Lyme disease?
Lyme disease. I heard it's a big problem in Michigan.
Yeah, I actually thought I had Lyme disease just a few months ago. I had this insect bite on my leg. I got a biopsy after I got it removed. They don't know what it was, but I sort of feel like I'm losing my mind sometimes. I'm kind of on edge. I don't really know. So that kind of made me think that I had Lyme disease, but I ended up not having Lyme disease. I ended up just having probably a spider bite. But I do not know anything about an increase of Lyme disease, or at least more Lyme disease in Michigan than anywhere else. I know a few celebrities who had it. I know Avril Lavigne had it. Pretty sure Lindsay Lohan had it. Some guy on Joe Rogan's podcast had it. Don't remember his name.
Yeah, you might have it and not even know it, because you can't always trust their diagnostics. These conventional doctors, they might misdiagnose all the time. They say you don't have it and you do have it.
As your own person without any other input. You can just not know and just be slowly losing your mind. It's crazy how it can come just from a tick, just from a little tick bite.
It sucks.
It does. Very much.
It's so important. Yeah, that's really relevant for today's conversation, because in the event of some natural disaster, a lot of people would just be running out into the forest, right? They'd be running out into the wilderness, and then they get a tick bite, and then they're going to die from Lyme disease, or they're going to be affected horribly, get dementia and all these sort of. So people got to be prepared for preventing Lymes and not getting bit by a tick. In the scenario, you did have to run into the forest or something. I would just say don't live where there's Lyme disease. Don't. I mean,
well, I have heard something like the tropical the disease area. Like that's another part of the survival thing is don't live in like near the equator, because the prevalence of disease is just so much higher there.
Yeah.
Very,
Wow,
very good point. Yeah.
That's huge.
I suffer from vitamin D, lack of vitamin D. So, but you can supplement that, and you can't supplement as easy anti-disease everything.
Yeah, I always have these big graphic visions of my utopian future, and I always view us around the equator, just sucking up the sun with our solar panels. But just at that point, maybe maybe something to factor in and move out just a little.
Or you can have solar panels up here too, but you just need 4 times as many.
Yeah. The sun came out here just for the first time in like 2 weeks. It's amazing because you realize how just like this sort of general happiness you get from the sun, only when it comes back. It's amazing. Just it shining through the blankets of my room, just actually just general happiness, just just reasonless happiness, and it's great. So
But you can get like a sun lamp which shines in the same frequencies if you have problems with that. I think it's called seasonal affect disorder, SAD or SAD, because it makes you sad.
Damn, people have fucking thought of everything.
No, they haven't
Jesus
yet, but they've
Christ.
thought of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hello,
I
Ethan.
take a vitamin D3 supplement. Yes.
Me
Hi,
too.
Ethan.
That is great. I'm gonna look into those, at least for the winter years in Michigan, or months. Feels like years.
Alrighty. So some other things we should talk about is, you guys know the Patriot Nurse channel? If you're really into survival, you should check out her channel. She's one of my favorite channels. She's super into survival, and she just gives lots of good advice. She's a nurse, so she's into first aid skills. And first aid skills is, she's a nurse, so she knows what she's doing. I'd check that out. YouTube that, Patriot Nurse.
For sure.
So we're all like basically trying to be like the smart little pig building their house. You know,
Out of brick.
there's the stupid little pigs that are not being prepared. They're building their house out of straw, and they're like, they're just dancing around there. And
I'm curious. There are so many ways through which we could achieve very long lifespans. And you could have the conversation about every single one just instantly curing this, sort of becoming biomechanisms in this way, doing blah, blah, blah. What do you think the way in which it will happen? I mean, what looks like is going to happen? What do you think we're on the path towards? And then what's going to happen first, and then what's going to happen there, and then we'll get to here. You know what I'm saying here? What's your actual prediction, not just your opinion?
Well,
I predict SENS will probably be the first to come out with a major breakthrough that gets us to the longevity escape velocity. So SENS will come out with some therapy that will get us like an extra 10 years of life. And then we get to that point, and SENS will come out with another therapy. It gets us to like an extra 30 years of life. And then it's sort of like Aubrey de Grey. I think he's pretty accurate with his predictions.
Yeah.
So I kind of just, what do you think? Do you think that's...
Aubrey's predictions are actually very deliberately vague, but I'd like to work for him someday, and I actually have a small research project now on biology, and it's my main nerd hobby thing. But I'd say that if you look at the different problems with the body, the human body, and like biology, which cause death, there's lots and lots and lots of different things, like this plethora of different problems, and each of them requires a separate solution. In some cases, you have some things which are solved, several things that are solved by the same solution, like the DNA information loss problem, which is the one that I'm working on and would like to continue work on until it's solved. But like cancer is caused by
Wow,
that.
so you're really actually working on a problem like that.
Yeah, I'm a biologist.
Wow, we have a real biologist here. Fantastic.
I'm a real biologist. I don't have a degree, but like I will have a degree at some point, and I will be working on it for real. At the moment, just using computers to try and hack a way to make like a partial solution to a small subset of the problem of DNA information loss. But so DNA information loss is the thing that causes cancer, and it also causes a lot of other problems. Like radiation sickness is just very, very accelerated DNA information loss, because all of your DNA gets basically just blown to bits by all of the high-speed photons, which is what gamma radiation is. It's just really high-speed photons. And they're like, when they hit something, instead of just emitting at a different color, they blow things up. Basically what happens if you look up the symptoms of radiation sickness, it's also very similar to this one, like the death cap mushroom. You have basically the same symptoms as radiation sickness, because the same thing happening. The death cap mushroom poison just completely scrambles your DNA. And so all these different body systems fail in very quick succession when you have either of those things. And aging, like in general, like normal daylight actually slowly kills you, and just breathing oxygen actually slowly kills you, but just more slowly than most other things. So you need to find ways to fix that, and or repair the damage done by that. So because you can't stop metabolism, because when you stop metabolism, that means you're dead, which is what we don't want.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think
yeah. You seem to have you seem to be in agreement with Aubrey de Grey on this, how to go about fixing aging.
He's very smart, and he's very deliberately vague on the things that no one knows about, basically. But I think, a lot of the SENS, and also a lot of the companies that have sort of sprung off SENS, are they're gonna like find solutions in biology. But I don't think it's all gonna be one solution. It's gonna be like lots of different solutions sort of half cobbled together, and they're not gonna work very well, but they're gonna work better than the natural human body. And then that'll get enough time for some people, and the lucky ones, basically, because some people die anyway, even if they like biologically could, in theory, live longer. But some people they won't live in the right country or whatever, so they won't have access to these therapies. And some people will simply be too poor. Some people will deliberately not take therapies because they don't believe in it or whatever. But some people will be lucky, and I hope that everyone here will be in that lucky group of people who can benefit from these therapies. And then once you live like a bit longer, they have enough time for the next level.
Oh yeah.
But I think there'll be gene therapies. There'll be like lifestyle interventions, like things like microbiome stuff. So like your gut bacteria and organisms, and like dietary stuff. There will be some degree of nanotechnology. There'll be stuff like artificial organs, and also there'll be things like cyborg type stuff. So we have artificial hips and bones and so on. And the thing is, older people, this I learned not so long ago, older people get very weak because they don't exercise, because it's dangerous for them to exercise because their bones break. So we have to fix that. And then they can actually exercise and then not become frail and actually live longer because it's a fact that people who exercise, I mean, there's extremes, of course. People like professional athletes die faster, actually, because they're always damaging their body mechanically. But people who like are active lifestyle, they live longer because their whole body's well practiced, it's well adjusted, and it has more capacity, which is all that matters in the end. Your capacity to deliver oxygen to your cells and like keep your blood from becoming septic. Like it's those things and a couple other things that's like most important. And your body gets less efficient at everything over time, and it goes down. And once it goes below some critical level, you die. Like with modern medicine,
homeostasis. Your body loses the ability to have homeostasis.
Right. So you have to have enough spare capacity. That doesn't matter if you're like 50% inefficient. You can still live like that. And like medicine can artificially prop that up a bit. But like your quality of life at that point is pretty bad. So actually I have sympathy for people with terminal diseases who want to die, because I imagine that it's easier for them if they're suffering daily. But I still, I don't want to die anyway. So yeah, it's
I
very
think-
complicated stuff. I'd like to discuss this further with
Yeah.
you, Rowan, and anyone else who has an opinion.
I have
on this.
sympathy for those people, but
A lot of
they
philosophical
shouldn't ever
questions.
choose death, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I disagree with you on
Um,
that point, but like the degree, like I agree with you up to a point, but not like past that point. So I'd love to discuss this further. But yeah, let's,
No, I absolutely agree with Ferran on everything he said. I think eventually where we'll get is more what we would see as or view as mechanical right now than biological. Perhaps even
to keep alive, quite simply, if we can transfer consciousness, and that's like this huge philosophical debate. That's
yeah.
If we can do that, yes. Like mechanical things are just superior.
Absolutely.
We can make them to do things that bodies can't. Like I mentioned, some people want to just be a spaceship, and then they'll do that. Like,
Yeah. I think we'll get up to a point where okay, now we can just live an innumerable number of years. I mean, it's just it can't be quantified. We won't know.
But before that, we have to regularly live for a century.
Yeah. But I think a problem which we will face as individuals who will be living over this very long time will be that a lot of people won't want to, and these people will be what?
They can be allowed to die. They have to be allowed to have the choice to die. But the problem is they hold back the rest of society.
It's a problem from our perspective because these people are going to be our family and our friends, and we are going to get to know all of them.
Yeah,
we're going to know everybody who's died if we live over that seems very difficult to deal with. All right, I don't want my dog to die. All right, let alone watch everyone who's ever going to die.
Yeah, it's awful. So we need to convince them that they should want to live and not be so suicidal.
Yeah, but that's just getting to a point where I don't have to watch anybody else die. That's going to be that's going to take some time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's going to take a lot longer than fixing biological death itself.
Yeah. By definition. Well, I don't know unless everyone
as far as
unless we can get everyone to think perfectly. And
I mean, cultural shifts can happen rapidly. Like everyone was very anti-Nazis after the Second World War for some reason. But that was a very popular thing. Like the American eugenicists, they were like big. And like the sort of idea of like an inferior and superior races and so on, that was very common ideology, and everyone sort of agreed with that. In the same way that we sort of agree that technology is sort of unhealthy for a lot of us today, like in the same way. But then the Second World War happened, and for some reason, people turned against that idea. So cultural shifts can change very quickly. But I think that I agree with you on what you're saying. That's going to take a lot longer than the actual technological challenge of fixing.
It's going to be very difficult to deal with as a thinking individual. Yeah.
You guys agree that because transferring consciousness is so hypothetical, it's a
so
long shot. It's
no point even
it's such a
talking about it.
reach.
Wait,
such a stretch.
You guys
that you guys think that the curing aging biologically is definitely where all our focus should be.
Oh,
Yes,
no.
like,
I actually here's where I disagree.
Yeah, good.
No, I am in discord with you two. I think
I'm ignoring it right now.
what's happening?
What was that, Ferrant?
Oh, I'm just ignoring the Discord right now.
No, okay, so
Oh yeah, the Discord. Yeah.
Our premise here is that we should be sustaining conscious things or consciousnesses that can experience happiness, and we're all doing that, so we should sustain that as long as possible. But I actually think that processing consciousness on a processor just is possible. I think, and I think it will become possible, perhaps near to the future or farther away.
Maybe.
But I think given that we'll be able to create a thing, an artificial intelligence that will be able to be more happy than we are, and therefore our focus shouldn't be on us living forever. We should be only trying to create that being which can be more happier over the course of eternity than we are.
I feel like you're getting this straight out of the. Wait a second. I feel like you're getting this straight out of the Sam Harris book here. This is verbatim Sam Harris talk right here.
It is, but he didn't connote it with the this should be our sole focus over living over us living over ever. We have to create better thing, and let that would, I think, by definition, become us or in some way or fashion. But do you have a dissenting argument against that? I mean,
yeah. Well, my dissenting argument is that as individuals, we're each an individual here. Shouldn't our primary focus be on making sure us as individuals get to live forever,
yes,
rather
but
than
the only reason due to which you're focused on yourself? I mean, your premise is that we are conscious beings which can experience happiness.
I don't agree with that. Well, I both agree with what you're saying, but also disagree with it completely. So, I mean, I'd have to explain that in the Discord later. But I think this is getting really off topic. But it's a very interesting line of discussion to pursue. I agree.
Well, like I'm all for making robots in the future, artificial intelligence that's can experience more pleasure and happiness than us, getting them to live forever. That's fine. That's all well and fine. But I mean, us as individuals, I mean, I think we all need to be most concerned about us getting to live forever, right?
I do
than some hypothetical artificial intelligence that we create in the future.
Well, I think both are, at least in our sense. I don't think we could quantify their hypotheticalness. They're both very far off. I don't think one's more implausible than the other. At least I don't think we can factor in so many things to decide that.
Yeah. I mean, the robots don't even exist yet, so why should we even bring them into the conversation as far as getting them to live forever?
Well,
let's talk about us getting to live forever.
Getting them to exist is the goal. That would be the goal. So them not existing doesn't stand in.
What if we get them to exist and they decide that they don't want us around? That's a problem.
But that would be them deciding on a fundamentally more moral basis. I mean, their decisions are better than ours at that point, because they can they can have more thoughts at once. They can process more information in any given moment. They would be able to think more clearly and more effectively than we are. And if that decision leads to our destruction, we have to go along with that.
I agree and I disagree.
Wait a second. You'd be okay with that? Wait a second. I have to challenge this. Wait a second. You'd be okay with some ultra advanced AI just taking us out, taking the human race out because they think it's...
We would have to agree with the superiority of the decision. That's it.
What? No.
But not the...
No.
I agree. We would have to fight back. We would have to defend ourselves. We would have to...
But we would lose, right?
But we would have to agree that their decision-making process is better. Therefore, their decision is better. They are just so much better.
Raymond, how do you feel about someone else, like a human being, who is provably more moral than you are, deciding that you have to die because your morality is inefficient? How would you feel about that?
That happens all the time. We put people. I mean, we've put people
with
to death. Wait, what'd you say?
With you, like people decide that you have to die. That happens regularly.
Well, I mean, if you want to ask me, just as me,
as a person,
I would,
as a thinking, feeling human being, how would you feel about that?
I would be in absolute self-defense mode. All right, I would look. I'm against accepting it as a. I'm against walking into it. I guess.
Okay.
It's
So this is the position of, I think, everyone here. The universe has decided that we must die because we are made insufficiently well, basically. We are made to fail, human bodies. They don't live long enough. They don't live for very long, and we think that they don't live for long enough. So our initial position is we are in self-defense mode. We are fighting back against the universe in the very sort of hard deterministic sense. So, I mean, if you have a fatalistic idea that you'd prefer to die, if someone else decides that you want to die, then you might as well kill yourself.
No.
And I think that's fine, as long as you don't take anyone else with you.
My claims are the claim that it's a superior decision is basically where I end with that.
I agree with that point, but I disagree with the
that's
rest.
not even my main point. My main claim is that we should be more of our focus should be on trying to create more. How should I say this? Just by the basis of how we rate importance, we should be trying to create more important life than trying to sustain any life at all. We just have to create more important life and consciousness as that.
I think you need to specify your definition of should, and I think that's where our disagreement is. And I'd like to discuss this later because I think this is really off topic.
Well, I have eternal life.
Yeah.
If there's something we should do, if there's something we should provably do more based on the premise of why we should be trying to get eternal life as ourselves, I think that's I'm not sure.
I don't know. Does Haley have an opinion on this? Haley, there?
I don't know what to say.
Well, he's saying that robots would be smarter and better than us, and therefore, if they decide that we should die, then they're right, and we should die.
I end it at their right, and not we should die. Not that last part.
Okay, yeah, well, you're implying that. So
Well,
that's where
I may be implying it, but I don't claim that last part.
So what do you think about that, Haley?
I'm not sure. I mean, I keep hearing that computers are eventually going to be smarter than us.
Yes.
I often hear. But I think with the things you're talking about, I don't really know anything about, to be honest. So I can't comment. Because I think I'm more interested in health and aging and trying to get rid of that. I think that's why I'm not really interested in
Haley
politics.
really wants to destroy aging.
I do. Destroy aging
as we
more
all
than
do.
anything else. It's
Live
more
forever
really
or
my
die
main
trying, huh?
focus.
Is there any survival strategies that we have not yet discussed? Here's one that you guys should have in your arsenal of thoughts in case some horrible thing happens. Food poisoning. You could get food poisoning if you had to eat some questionable food in a survival scenario. Have a bunch of activated charcoal on hand. This could save your life. Activated charcoal is what they give people when they have alcohol poisoning or they get food poisoning or something, and this could save your life. And I take it regularly. It's good for you. It's good for you even if you don't have food poisoning.
Really?
Activated charcoal. Oh yeah.
But I mean, it just sucks things up. So do you like eat food that's
now that are showing that it increases longevity? Actually, it's like people are taking it every day as a supplement. Believe it or not, it's quite amazing.
I'll have to look into that research. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like I am a little bit skeptical about the raw food movement because I've heard that the death rate is actually higher because of higher rates of food poisoning. Because I mean, say what you will about the unhealthy chemicals and preservatives used in like the industrialized food industry, but having a standards for for practice of hygiene and food safety does save lives. So that's, yeah. If you could somehow have a regulated raw food industry, like that would be the best thing, right?
Yeah. The raw food industry, I'm fine with the raw food industry. I think people should have the right, for instance, to get raw dairy. And the government, this is where the bureaucracy of government, I'm so pissed off with it because the government's trying to stop people from getting raw dairy. Like that should be their own right.
Oh,
You know
well,
what I
they're doing
mean?
it because people are dying.
Like my dad's really into raw dairy and stuff, and I like raw butter. I'm a fan of raw butter. But as far as the risk, that people should have their own right to risk their health if they think that's a risk worth taking.
I agree.
Yeah. But as far as like raw food movement, I'm not a fan of it because we should cook our food because it makes it more digestible in general. Like for the vegetables,
it does. Yeah.
Yeah. If you do it too much, it can take away nutrients, but yeah, it's usually a good thing to do.
Yes, indeed.
The purpose of cooking is to make things more bioavailable.
It's one of the causes of our actual surge in intelligence over our evolution, our cooking of our meals and our creation of fire, just us not having to use as much energy to digest those foods. It absolutely skyrocketed our intelligence, and it will continue to do so.
Oh, yeah. Though I think there are some things that are best always raw. For instance, I eat egg yolks as a nutritional kind of food that I'm eating for my brain support. And I think that you should never cook your egg yolks because it ruins the cholesterol. When you cook certain things like cholesterol, you create oxysterols, and it's just toxic for your body. So better to have things like egg yolks and butter and things like that raw. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to cook your vegetables. You want to cook your beans. You want to cook your lentils and all that stuff. Clearly. Well, we should talk about food storage. That's a survival topic we haven't really talked about. Are you guys storing any food? The groundhogs, I'm sure they're going underground and storing food. So I think food storage, as far as food storage, one of the best things we can store is like honey. Never goes bad. Not that that's a healthy food to make a staple or anything, but it'll just never go bad. Coconut oil is probably the oil that'll last the longest, and it's healthy. Beans, dried beans, lentils. What are your favorite foods to store that are kind of cheap to get a lot of in bulk?
Nuts and things, but I mean they're not very cheap.
Yeah,
but, I mean you get healthy nuts and so on, like hazelnuts and walnuts and so on. But yeah, they're good. Definitely second the lentils and so on. Yeah.
Anyone else storing up food?
a
lot of with the food storing. Oh yeah, well that's good. Hey,
no, I
calorie restriction.
It is purposeful. I think I eat maybe one meal a day, if that.
Wonderful. So you're like a calorie restrictor.
Oh yeah. I'm very, yeah.
Does that affect your energy levels in a negative way? Because I've heard when you restrict too much, you start to lose energy and motivation and that kind of thing. Is that affecting you, or libido or something?
No, I ride my bike everywhere. I'm very much into cardiovascular activity. I do not have a lack of intellectual or physical energy at any times. I try to eat what I need. I drink a lot of water. I tell my friends this, they don't believe me, but I am purposefully celibate, and my libido is no concern of mine.
Oh wow, purposefully celibate. Let's talk about this because this is interesting.
Yeah, it is. The longest I've gone without.
What are the?
Wait, ask your question.
What are the motivations here? Yeah, what are the primary motivations for this purposeful celibacy?
Well,
this is right up my alley. I'm interested in this celibacy thing. I'm celibate.
I like the monastic lifestyle. I like the freedom it gives me. I have enough to do. I'm not particularly strapped for emotional connections. I love both my parents. I have a dog. It's not a huge concern of mine. I want to get even more celibate in other things. I want to never drink alcohol over the rest of my life. I would like to give up marijuana at some point. I already.
So you're kind of into like the stoicism, like just remove these pleasures that are unnecessary and kind of satisfy yourself with less, like a minimalist type of attitude. Don't overindulge in the hedonism.
I do a lot of Sam Harris inspired meditation. If I could start my own sort of secular monastery at some point in my later years, that would be a dream come true. But yeah, I'm happier than I have ever been. I'm more fulfilled in moment to moment activities, and more than just not having sex. The longest I've gone without masturbating is about 2.5 months, and when you stop doing that, fulfillment in day-to-day activities, like I play piano, and just playing piano after not rubbing one out over a month and a half is fundamentally better, and you can prove that just with masturbation. I mean, just go a week without masturbating, then masturbate.
Yes,
it's better. You can see that just in that.
So I think it's true, because it's like when you have an orgasm, you're spiking your dopamine, right? And then you're setting a new. You're kind of increasing your hedonic set point, where your body you need more, because you keep on spiking your dopamine.
Yes.
Everything else is less satisfied because it doesn't reach that same dopamine high.
You ultimately you can call it a tolerance, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My friends do not believe me that I haven't that I have gone 2.5 months. That's the longest time I have gone without. They don't believe me on that point or the celibacy point, but it does not concern me because I'm fulfilled in other activities.
I think it's a very, very smart thing to do, and a good thing to embark on.
It's a good thing to at least do once or over some time. It as a lifetime experience may be a cost, more benefit than cost, perhaps, if eternal life isn't going to happen. But yeah, oh shit, what happened?
Okay, watch this. To make an example out of this one person, because they are deathists and they're in the chat here, and I'm just going to ban them publicly down the garbage chute. You guys all see the screen here? My screen share?
Whom are we banning?
Tim V.
Do you guys see the screen share? Tim V. Do you see what he said here? He said, "We live in a finite world. Everything dies. You can't go up against death. You will lose." Very deathist, and we're banning him down the garbage chute right here. This is the first public ban. Ban. Block. Goodbye, Tim. We will not have your deathism. Cluttering up, you bad egg, down the garbage chute. So there we go. Goodbye. Okay. I just had to do that. All right. So I'm interested. So you're a Sam Harris fan, Raymond.
I've read most of his books. I listen to his podcast. I do enjoy his mode of thought, if not the thoughts themselves. Always, he's very calm. He's very collected. I most aspire to be him in a meditation sense. But yeah. I anticipate your judging of him. I would like to see someone. I'd like to see everyone go up against everyone. So you going up against Sam Harris will be enjoyable.
Yes, it will be a sight to see. I've been preparing this presentation. I'm going to be judging him because I do not like his thoughts on death. He's smart on some things, but regarding death and the subject of eternal life, he just missed it. He does not get it. So
I've listened to everything he said, and I think everything he's read, and I haven't seen him say anything that makes me too. So maybe I'm not focusing on it. I just sort of skimmed over my mind. But
have you seen his presentation? Have you seen his presentation called "Death and the Present Moment"?
Yes, that seemed more focused on free will than. Or that was at the atheism conference, right? I think it was.
Yeah,
I've watched
he
the
had
YouTube
some
video.
very.
I have a visual of a.
He said
like
some. He said some very
background right now.
Yeah. The purple pink background. Yeah, he said some very damning things, though. He said, "quote." He said, "Death isn't the problem. Life is the problem." And some people would say I'm taking him out of context, but I think if you take it in context, he said that it doesn't really change the meaning there. He said.
I'll have to.
Death is not the problem.
I mean, I've said some pretty damning things in this conversation.
His claim
but
was.
You know my position on things.
What'd you say?
I've said some pretty damning things in this very conversation. So I think actually, if you do take it out of context, then it does change the meaning. Like he might have been citing the position of someone he disagrees with.
I'm pretty sure I said we should all die at some point, but I do not think.
But his context, okay, Sam Harris was coming from the perspective that death isn't the problem because of suffering. But he's missing the point entirely because we're not afraid of death because we think there's going to be some kind of suffering when we die. We're afraid of death because we're afraid of missing out on life. Yeah, exactly. It's the absence of life. And that's just going over his head. He does not get it. He's stupid.
I'll have to watch it and see and hear.
Yes, I will judge him harshly.
Well, I think some people.
We need to judge these intellectual elitist people. They put themselves. We put these people on pedestals. I'm sick of it. We need to judge them. It's just ugh. Anyways, survival. Here's an antiviral thing you guys should all have in your arsenal of herbs. Antiviral is this herb called cat's claw. I know it's just kind of random, but it's actually one of the most powerful antiviral herbs.
Do you know why that is?
It's just like when you look up the lists on Google, I don't know the specific reason, but when you look up the lists of herbs that are very antiviral, that's like always one of the top ones on all these lists. So just thought I'd mention that. It's a good thing. You could buy it in bulk. It's pretty cheap. Cat's claw. It's a lot of the herbalists are into this one in emergency situations if you had a viral. And if these viruses can take you out really quickly, they can take you out in a matter of days, sometimes hours. You know, if it was like Ebola or some kind of horrible thing like that.
Ebola isn't a virus, it's a bacteria.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Bacterium.
I think cat's claws, yeah. Viruses and bacteria are different, but I think cat's claw is specifically virus. There are the other ones that are good for bacteria. Should look that up. Colloidal silver. That's very antibacterial. You guys know colloidal silver?
No.
I haven't investigated it very thoroughly, but I know that nanoparticles of metals like silver and zinc are very...
Yeah.
They have a mechanism that disrupts certain viruses.
As far as if we were to construct the ultimate medical first aid kit, it's got to include colloidal silver or the raw materials to make colloidal silver, because they used to use this in hospitals, just these silver nanoparticles, and they're highly antibacterial and antiviral. They kill bacteria and virus, so that's good. And it works. I've gotten viruses and bacteria, and I just drink tons of it. Drink tons of colloidal silver, and it'll kill the stuff in your body.
I mean, it's cool
life.
to have stuff that kills bacteria and viruses, but you're going to make sure that it doesn't kill you too, because that defeats the purpose. So I wonder what they use instead of these.
Well, colloidal silver, there's no toxicity. You could drink a gallon of it. It's just totally safe.
I've seen the guy with the blue skin. Was that like a publicity
the blue
stunt
man.
or something?
He was making his colloidal silver in a really dumb way where it creates huge particle sizes, if you're making colloidal silver in the normal way that most people are making it, the particle sizes are small enough where it's not going to create blue skin.
Yeah, 'cause
And
you don't
he
have
was
blue-
drinking, and he was drinking a ridiculous amount of colloidal silver. Like he was drinking gallons every day just for the heck of it. Like
Okay.
in an emergency situation, if you had a virus, you want to be drinking tons of colloidal silver. And there's another supplement that you guys should all have in your arsenal, which is NAC, and that stands for it's an amino acid. So look up, Google NAC, and this enhances your immune system. It's like food for your immune system, and your immune system can be strengthened. It will help you fight off a disease if you had a virus or there's a pandemic. You want to be taking a lot of this
Why would
NAC,
you
colloidal
take
silver,
only
cat's
that
claw.
rather than, just eating which contains protein, which protein is built up of amino acids?
Oh, this is because there's not enough of it. Like NAC, you want an extra dose of it. You want a medicinal dose of it. In a case of if you had a virus or a sickness. I need to be especially careful about this stuff because I don't have a spleen. Spleen is a huge part of the immune system, so I'm especially focused on how to enhance my immune system and what I would do in that sort of situation.
Yeah, my mom's first husband had to get his spleen removed because he was in a car accident, and later years he got I don't know what, it might have been some bacteria or virus, but he died due to him not having his spleen. And he could have been saved pretty effectively, but they just didn't know why. He was
Wow,
dying
he
when
died.
shouldn't have been.
Did he die?
It was like 20
So did he
years.
die from internal bleeding? Was it right when
No,
he
no, it
lost
was
his
like
spleen
20
that he
years
died,
after.
or did he die later?
He had to get his spleen removed, and then like almost 2 decades later, he died due to something he would not have died of if he had had his spleen.
Wow.
Yeah, that thought just came to my mind. It's not really. It's just an anecdote.
Well, that's the spleen. So like, if you don't have a spleen, you're more susceptible to viruses, certain bacteria, parasites, pneumonia, these sort of things. That's why I'm a
creates something.
germaphobe.
I'm not sure exactly
I don't
what
know.
that would have fought off this particular thing. But don't get whatever he died of, so you don't die. Don't get it. Stay away.
Thank you.
Don't be
you.
like Dale.
No,
Don't marry my mom.
indeed. Indeed. Yeah. Groundhog Day. You guys like the movie Groundhog Day? Speaking of the
I have
Groundhog
not seen
Day, see, the whole thing about life is that it's not like the movie Groundhog Day. Because this is a wonderful movie. You have to see it. Because in the movie Groundhog Day, he basically he can kill himself and he gets to restart every day new, and he gets to drive his car off the cliff and he's still fine. And that's not how real life is. So in real life, it's not like Groundhog Day. We have to do it right the first time. There's no redos. That's why we have to be so serious with our health.
There's only redos on non-fatal things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the opportunity to learn, but only if you're careful about choosing what you're trying to learn.
What about Edge of Tomorrow? Have you seen that?
A similar
Edge
concept.
of Tomorrow. Oh, it is a similar concept.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. I remember liking that movie. Tom Cruise, one of my favorite actors.
For you. Why is Aubrey?
What was that?
Why is Aubrey de Grey such a degenerate?
He's a degenerate in that he promotes. Now, obviously, he's wonderful, and I promote his work. But on a personal level, like examining his lifestyle, yeah, he would be a degenerate just because he promotes. Well, he's just drinking an inordinate amount of alcohol, just ridiculous. That's not healthy.
Wait, does he really do that much? Or is it
Now
just
he
he had a couple of presentations while he was drinking beer?
No,
He
he
gets
really drinks
drunk every
a
morning.
lot,
Is he like
but
a full-on alcoholic?
He starts drinking at like 11 a.m.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
yeah, he drinks quite a lot, but you know, he might argue that maybe his genes and he can handle it because he's got these genes that can handle alcohol. Well, that's
He always talks
I
about
can
like
see the larger picture. I don't care if he's a degenerate. He's saving us all. So
Yeah.
in life, he's doing a good thing. He's going to help us all live forever. So
Yeah.
But that's not.
I'm
the
not
only
just
thing
going to
about
start
Aubrey
attacking
de
Aubrey
Grey,
de Grey
you
for
know.
being a degenerate. What?
No, I'd like
Hmm?
you to because you're quite hardline
What?
on his judging people. But that's not the only thing. The alcohol isn't the only thing that that I assume you would consider degeneracy.
Oh yeah, it would be like the kind of polygamous
Yeah.
lifestyle that he promotes. You know, just the sexual. Like he says, yeah, polyamorous. I shouldn't have said polygamous. Polyamorous is the right word. He says things like, "Oh, sex is just it's just a recreational activity," and he kind of he doesn't act like sex is a big deal and just like, oh, you just have sex and multiple sex partners and just this promiscuous, loose, slutty vibe. I don't know. Not a fan of that. But, I don't focus on that. I mean, obviously, he's the hero here. He's going to save us all. So,
But
The
actually,
power to save us.
do you think he has more sex than the average person who's serially monogamous? Like someone who's monogamous but has several partners over the span of their life. Do you think he has more sex than like the average person like that?
I don't know. I
Or
don't
is
know
he
his
like
personal life. I don't know. I don't know how many people he's having
If
sex
you're
with.
really strict about who you have sex with, even if you have like a non-traditional setup like he does, it could be safer from a point of view of STDs, because that's the main concern here, right? This is why we care about cleanness and degeneracy, is because of the disease, right? Or is there some other reason why you care about it so much?
No, that's the main reason, but there's also other reasons why you wouldn't want to just have tons of sexual partners. You're opening yourself up to increased risk of something sour happening in one of your relationships, and then some kind of drama happens, and then you end up dead from that. So like say crazy psychos. The more people you get extremely intimate with as far as relationships, what if one of those people turns out psycho and just I'm going to kill them because you don't want to do that. You don't want to open yourself up to that. It's better to just be with one person. Monogamy, just safer, clean living.
I actually have a question to pose to you guys. Just say we just over the course of our lifetimes we don't cure aging or get to super long lifespans, but we still just kind of keep going the same progress that we are right now. How long do you guys think you're going to live? Yeah, if you actually do in fact die without any serious upgrades in any sense. I'll just give my answer. I think I'm going to push 130. I think I've got that in check, and I'm almost 6'2" and male. Right? That's a serious downset or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I would say I would say forever for me. I'll figure out some way just through natural means, just
you were just
diet, lifestyle, and
just that's certain. Not optimistic.
Oh, I'm not certain. I'm just saying I would think I would
but
do that. Yeah, I would have hope that I would figure out.
Yeah, very close to certain. Yeah,
I think I would.
I'm sort of removing the certainty in my hypothetical thing. I'm just curious about how long our current biological organisms in our setting will live. Because let's just go back 50,000 years. They lived this long in that setting. I think we'll start living to these ages in this setting if we do in fact die. Yeah. Well,
if you compare yourself to the rest of the world, but you also have to account for the possibility that maybe everyone in the world at all times in history was doing something wrong that I could do right, that I could figure out something that they weren't doing. So taking that into consideration, I think I would live forever. Biologically, I think I could get my biological body to live forever. Obviously,
and you should.
This is very very hopeful, but I don't want to count on this, that I'm right, and that I could figure this out myself. And that's why I'm promoting, Sens, because I could be wrong, and maybe there's nothing I could do. Maybe there's nothing I could do, even if I do the healthiest diet and I live underground and whatever I'm doing. Yeah, whatever I think my strategy is, I don't know for sure that it would work. So I need to promote anything, increase my odds. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
I think without technological assistance, I will have died by the 2080s.
For sure.
I went 2090s, yeah.
So you think you'll push 100 or somewhere around there? Or a little over 100?
90, 80s, maybe, if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Of course, we're discounting accidents, right?
Yeah.
But of course, I hope to see. What about you, Ian? Did you hear that question?
Wait, what?
Did you hear that question?
What's that sound coming from?
No, someone's driving off. Hold on. Ugh.
Oh, okay. I thought that was Ethan. I just muted him. I was picking on Ethan. No, it wasn't Ethan this time.
What's the question?
I think he can unmute himself, right? I don't even know how to unmute him now.
The question was,
Anyways.
how long do you think you'll live if Sens and whatever doesn't pull through?
Ooh, 60 to 70.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
I'm not very healthy, but
Okay.
my dad, he's way worse, and he's already in his late 70s. So I think if I have low expectations, about 70, hopefully longer, maybe 80, 90, like my grandma. She's
at least
97, I think, yeah. And oh my gosh, Bolivia is just complete crap. Like it's all dusty, but I mean she takes care of her health, so that's nice.
For sure.
Well, if you don't stop eating McDonald's, I think you're definitely not going to do yourself any services. Got to stop eating McDonald's.
Yep. Don't eat.
Haley?
I can't help it. I gotta save my money.
Oh, dude, Ian, I just give you some advice right now. Just get lots of lentils.
Lentils, yeah.
Lentils are cheap. You get green
like lentil
lentils,
soup.
red lentils. They're filled with protein, amino acids. You cook them. They're the most digestible of all the beans. Cook them well, and they digest well. And you can't cook some lentils? Come on.
I can cook, but oh my gosh, every time I do, my parents get on my case because I ruined something. Like the other day, I was doing eggs and I ruined the pan because I used the fork instead. I'm very.
How about peanut butter? Peanut butter. You can go to Trader Joe's. You could buy a natural peanut butter it's ridiculous. So
sorry, I gotta go. Hold on.
All right.
Haley, did you have a thought on that question?
Yeah, I find that quite hard, to be honest. Because today I don't particularly want to go old in the first place. I'm absolutely petrified of it, especially after what's happened to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to end up shriveled up and sick and it's disgusting. I don't want to end up like that.
You do have a slight edge on the rest of us being a female. You will live just that much longer.
I'm taller than most of them, so probably not.
Yeah. Well, shit. I would love to be a very short female right now. And forever. But I'm a 6'2" guy. That's how it goes.
I'm 5'12".
Nice. You're 5'12".
6 feet. Yeah, I had to quickly hang up the video because my coworker spotted me, so I had to talk to him for a bit.
I have an interesting question for Raymond. So he was talking about celibacy earlier.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any longevity benefits to celibacy? Because this is something I've been thinking about that maybe by being celibate, we're going to increase our longevity. Because let me just kind of put some context with this. In nature, it seems that a lot of animals, they die and it's linked to their procreation. Like they'll procreate, they'll mate, and then they die. And there's some kind of link with sex and death and procreation and death. Do you think that being celibate will make us live longer?
I can't think of reasons why it would make us live shorter. I think in as far as it is one less thing about which to have all the usual societal thoughts and just thoughts that the mind creates, anxious thoughts, stressful thoughts. Just replacing that with just other. So I not substantially. It's not the purpose I have in mind when I am not doing it in becoming it. But definitely in some amount, yes. Yeah.
Another side benefit is you're definitely protecting yourself from STDs. So people like us who are celibate, we don't have to worry about getting all these AIDS and these STDs.
And you are as well. I asked you that in some other stream, or I saw some clip of something in one. So you are.
I am what?
You're celibate as well. Okay,
yes.
For sure. Sweet. You were the only other person I have ever met who will say that.
Yeah, now I have someone else that we could talk about this stuff. It's like the Eternal Celibacy Club.
yeah. Let's change the name. I just want to live forever so I can not fuck anyone forever. That's all I want to do.
I think there's some animal studies where some animals, if they're neutered, they live a bit longer. I think that's to do with hormonal levels.
Yeah.
Celibate changes the hormonal levels, like reduces them, at least of the sex hormones. I think that probably has a positive impact on health.
Yeah.
As for like animals dying soon after they mate, I think that has an evolutionary basis.
Yeah.
Basically, evolution only cares about you until you reproduce, and then it doesn't care about you anymore.
Well, it cares more about the offspring. So, I mean, in cases where...
It cares about your ability to produce offspring. In R-selected species and in K-selected species, there's some amount of, like, upbringing of the offspring. But after that's done, then evolution doesn't care about you. So evolution doesn't design you to outlive the purpose you serve in bringing new versions of yourself to the world. So humans are sort of strange in that we've been able to have lifespans that are twice as long as when, like, at least the females have menopause. Like, people live to 80, but menopause happens at, like, 40.
Yeah.
50. But men are not sterile. Like, men can still be fertile, like, longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't think there's like a causal connection in that direction about like having kids causes you to die. It's more like evolution hasn't made you to live longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an old saying that says, nature with its frugal eye asks only that we mate and die. Nature doesn't, it's like left us for dead. Nature doesn't care if we live forever. Yeah. That's that whole idea you were just talking about.
And actually that ties into the philosophical thing that you were talking about with the robots. Like, evolution has these goals for us, but we as individuals probably have different goals to evolution, and we're free to have those. And so I'd say, like, with the robots thing, just very quickly, even if the robots had superior morality to us, we can disagree with that.
Yeah,
very much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone else have thoughts about
with the whole robot thing, I was just thinking, like, that it's if we created these robots, still as individuals, we have to say we should live forever.
Absolutely, and not just us. I think all life and all things which can be experiencing well-being and actually be well, not just like animals that can be happy or have thoughts or see things, but all plants. We have to continue that as an entire experiment and just export it into the universe. I mean, that has to happen. Absolutely. And we have to be part of that, as well as the more important things which we create. Absolutely.
Is Ethan? Are you there, Ethan?
What's up? I'm not celibate.
You're not celibate?
I'm living Rowan's dream. I'm that thing better than celibate. I've only kissed one girl, and that's my wife in my whole life, and my wife has only kissed me.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's great. Monogamy. That's beautiful. You know, that's what we need in our culture. Our culture needs to make this look cool and monogamy look cool, because right now it's like they're promoting this sick, promiscuous grossness. I don't like that.
Well, it comes from religion. That's what teaches you about purity. Well, the atheist movement is like the opposite of where we're going.
Yeah, that's why I was quick to ask. The purity thing is just about disease, right? It's not. You're not like being religious on us, even though you're not Christian.
Yeah, no, it's just about disease.
Okay, that's important.
Yeah,
I mean, but there could also be other sociological reasons and mental reasons why. For instance, if you were to have, that could be mentally damaging to you and to your partners. So for instance, like some attachment might form, and then if you lose your partner, it's like kind of like you have this history, and you create this long list of history of partners, and it kind of ruins the purity. I don't know, I probably didn't describe that well, but it's okay.
Well, I mean,
here's another reason.
okay,
I mentioned this with Devin.
Hmm.
I mentioned this with Devin too. If you're getting with a bunch of partners, what if you fall in love with one of these partners, and then you become heartbroken if that relationship were to end, and then that's not good for your mental health.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, if I get super attached to one partner and then by accident they die, then like maybe I'd end up killing myself. Like that's super scary. I don't want that risk.
Yeah.
So maybe
it's an extra risk.
Even in some respects, the promiscuous don't care much about it. Society protects against that. So like I'm not sure that that the monogamy culture is necessarily mentally healthier than the other thing. Like, but there's also extremes. Of course, the most promiscuous person is not going to be healthy, and the least promiscuous person might not be healthy either. Like, I think there's some balance somewhere, which is optimal or whatever. But I'm not sure that any one of us here knows what that balance is.
Well,
but also, culturally speaking, of course, a society will do better if it's culturally homogeneous, but that would work. That it goes with any.
You can be honest.
Another reason would be like it's like it's important to get with someone if you're going to get into a relationship. I think it's important to find someone that really is obsessed about living forever, because you would never know how damaged you're going to be if you lose that person. If they weren't obsessed with living forever and then they end up dying because they didn't care very much, and then you could be heartbroken. Now, I'd like to think that I'm strong enough of a person that even if my spouse or mate died, I'd still, I wouldn't be depressed and go into some horrible depression mode, but you never know. And so it's find someone that's equally as serious about living forever.
And even if they are equally as serious, it's twice the risk.
Twice the risk of,
yes,
of them becoming a problem in their death. I'm not following.
Accidentally dying.
Yeah.
They were doing everything they could to not die. Like, they could accidentally die, and the risk is twice.
Yeah.
You can
but then if you find the right person, you can view it as an asset, where you're finding a person that's helping you live forever and has your back and protecting you and, you know, like your bodyguard or something.
But that's part of the point why anyone wants a partner, because
Yeah.
yeah, in the general sense, like it's someone on your team and so on.
You can always
Yeah.
find someone new if you lose your first spouse. It's not like if you're monogamous, you're stuck for that one person. If they die, you can always find another love later.
Well, that's the thing. Some monogamous are like full on extreme. If like I lose this person, then no one ever. So that's like the extreme monogamous position. And the extreme promiscuous position is like, oh, a new person every night, or multiple people on the same night. Like,
I think just staying with one person at a time, and as long as they're alive, if they die, you can always find one other person. That's like perfect balance.
yeah, maybe that's the best balance. I don't know.
Because I know really strict religious pure people, but even if their spouse dies, they're allowed to, you know, find a wife, find another spouse. But that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go and sleep because it's 3 a.m. here. But it's been nice. And I'll talk another time. I'd like to continue discussions with everyone. So,
Absolutely. It was good
bye for
meeting
now.
you.
Yes.
Farewell.
Thanks for being here.
Nice. I love Norwegian accents. They make me so calm.
Yeah.
I'm getting down to Aurora. She's a Norwegian pop singer. Well, I already listened to her
Aurora.
album. Yeah. Sort of very, well, I got over it pretty quickly. I was like, oh, this is amazing music. And then
Is she the girl that was in Eurovision?
I would have no idea if she were.
Okay.
I would not know.
I'll have to check her out. I'm into female singers.
Oh, oh my God, I love female singers so fucking much.
Wow.
Amazing.
We think alike. Yeah, I'm
Who's your
much more
favorite
into the
female
female
singer?
voice in general.
Oh, absolutely. It is so great.
Oh, that's a big question.
Like, just
it would have to be someone like favorite. Probably. I really like a lot of Katy Perry songs.
Oh my God, have you heard her like MTV Unplugged shit? She did like this really great jazz version of "I Kissed a Girl." I listen to it all the time. It's so great.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
It's fantastic.
Okay, I love when that music video came out. I was obsessed with it. I watched it like 10 times in a row.
Katy
It's
Perry's great.
ridiculous. Yeah, I like Katy Perry. I like Shakira. I like Alanis Morissette.
Not too big of a fan.
Yeah, I like. Oh gosh, there's a lot.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorites besides Aurora?
There's this girl who just threw out an album like last year or the year before. I don't know. Her name's Margaret Gillespie. I'm a very big fan of Jenny Lewis of Rilo Kiley.
Oh yeah, The Silver Lining. I know that one.
Yeah. And there's this girl. Her name's Adrienne Lenker. She has a band called Big Thief. There's some Aurora. She's great.
You sound more into like indie music.
I am into. I like things that have been created very recently, and that tends to be indie type of stuff. At least the stuff that I can enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I am.
I generally like a lot of female singers, and then they like release some horrible song that really disappoints me, and then I'm like, oh crap, how can I like them anymore? They're so degenerate. Oh, their message is so deathist.
Yeah. but music lyrics are pretty ambiguous. You can write in whatever you want. You can replace the nouns with other concepts in your own mind as you sing along in your own head. So
yeah.
But I most of your song analyses have been right in realizing that these people are just promoting non-interest in life, and that's bad.
Yeah. Oh, Regina Spektor.
Oh,
you
Regina
like her?
Spektor's great.
I love her.
Yeah, her first album
is good.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, what about her song "Carbon Monoxide"? She's talking about carbon monoxide. Soon I'll go to sleep.
Yeah.
What the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah.
Death
She's
is-
her message. Yeah, total death is. She
Can't
has a
listen to
song
her.
where she says, "Little bag of cocaine, a little bag of cocaine." She's promoting all kinds of degenerate crap.
I have not
And
heard
a lot
that
of my
one.
yeah, a lot of my favorite singers, and then they just have degenerate music. Like even the Pretty Reckless is another band I like, a rock band with a female lead singer.
Yeah. Those are great. Heart, obviously.
And yeah, so it's wide and varied. But anyways,
Musician,
we have
they're a letdown most of the time.
that's actually an eternal life strategy. Listening to the right music. Because
Oh,
think
yeah,
about it, if you're listening
playing
to
music.
the wrong music, it's brainwashing you into deathism.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Lot-
for sure. Yeah.
Like I just wonder like how many people are total deathists and degenerate and they're living dangerously because they're subtly being influenced by their music, and it's powerful.
And certain music reliably puts you in reliably creates or stimulates different brain waves, and some are just more healthy than others, and more inducive of better thoughts that lead to other things. Obviously, if you're just listening to Slayer all the time, but if you're listening to just a very nice classical piano,
Yeah.
it has drastically different effects.
Oh yeah, like I love instrumental music that's just instrumental with no vocals too, like Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that theme song of Requiem for a Dream. You know that song? It's a great.
Do. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's awesome.
It's
like that song portrays the nightmare of life, like in instrumental tones. It portrays the turbulence and the stress and this horrible nightmare situation.
Oh yeah.
Without even any words, it just portrays it. It's interesting how music can convey so much different emotions and ideas.
It does. I don't like to get too super bogged down in its because it's sort of a wishy-washy type of thing. Its effects are pretty hippie like oh, you gotta play music like, let's all play music like this, and vibes and shit. So I'm not too big on that, but playing an instrument and listening to good music is definitely a thing I think everyone should do. Yeah.
So why do you think what's the biggest reason do you think that's preventing people from not wanting to live forever? You know, so many people say they don't want to live forever.
Oh yeah.
And it's crazy to us, you know, people who are wanting to live forever, but why are they so deathist? What's making these people so ridiculous?
I think it's ultimately a sort of cynically sustained romanticism, if you know what I mean there. It's not pessimism. It's sort of a group thing as well as an individual thing. It's there has to be factors of people just not realizing that they themselves are great and that they have a lot of potential. Like I was talking with my neighbor. He said he may want to live up to 75 years or something. And I think it is directly due to him really not being able to do a lot of things. I think some people just know that they aren't super capable, even though I think their brains are capable given the right circumstances and stuff. It's a vicious circle that they get into, and they can't get out, and they're very bogged down in it. Yeah. But you just doing a little bit of meditation every day can break that spell, and break it effectively, and keep it broken.
Meditation, never got into that.
No.
I guess I meditate, but in a way where it's like, I don't know, is listening to music meditating? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, focusing on one thing. Yeah, I view it as the opposite of contemplation, of actually attempting to think. Ultimately,
is watching Seinfeld episodes, is that meditation?
If you just watch the same one over and over and over and over again, and you'll get there.
I generally think of thoughts, and being lost in thought is a good thing. Why would I want to not think? You know?
Yeah. It's you ultimately learn from it. If you're constantly going to be paying attention, you can't turn your mind off. So as long as you're conscious and you're really sort of slowing everything down, and as if you're actually slowing the world down visually, you can go in and see, oh, that's why I thought that thought comes after that. These are connected in that way. It's a way of understanding the mind, and it's a very effective. It's the only way. So it doesn't, yeah, how effective it is irrelevant, even though it is effective. But really no, because I used to meditate like every day. Now I do it like every few days and not as long as I used to. But you can get some pretty great experiences off it. Yeah.
So are you atheist like me,
Yeah, I do not believe
or you have a
in,
religion, or what?
no, I don't believe in any god or gods. No. And
Awesome.
that's after spending 11 years in Catholic private school. So
That pretty much turned you atheist.
it couldn't not have been a factor. Yeah. But it was great. It was very educational and much better than public schools.
But did you
So-
start off believing then? So there was a transition where you started believing in God at one point, but then you stopped, like me? Or did you?
I do remember being a kid and really thinking about this type of stuff. I remember being very small and basically boiling it down to, okay, it comes down to the resurrection. If that happened and that actually and that's substantiated, shit, yeah, all right, he's the son of God, what up, I'm going to heaven. But then you break that down and you realize that's bullshit, and then you're gone. And I was like, well, I was very young, I probably wasn't even out of elementary school. Yeah. But
Was there a point where what got you to turn atheist? Was it just like lack of evidence? Like,
Well,
what is this? There's no proof for this.
that's ultimately whatever anything makes you not believe in anything is a lack of evidence. So yeah, it would have to be characterized as that.
And like when I became atheist, that's when I became much more afraid of death. And like, oh crap, I don't think there's a heaven. I'm screwed. I have to live forever physically. How was that process for you?
Yeah, just as a side thing, I've sort of realized I always really try to say I am an atheist, because if you say I'm atheist, it sounds like you're saying I'm a theist, which is the exact opposite of what you're attempting to say,
Yeah.
which is funny.
Yeah.
So an atheist, yeah, but yeah, it used to take up more of my mind, but now I hardly think about it. I'm really deep into other topics and thinking about them. Yeah.
So besides living forever, besides life extension, transhumanism, what's some of your other topics? Well, meditation, Sam Harris, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. What
Yeah.
else?
Well, I'm a musician. I played piano since I was 2. I like playing guitar, even though I think it's a bit dull and boring at this point. I just bought a drum set. I spent a substantial amount of money on that. I'm going to learn drums.
I noticed you got a nice mic set up there.
I do.
Do you have a YouTube channel where you're doing like covers and stuff? And
No,
guitar
I am
covers?
not. I am not that type of musician. I am. Yeah, it's a very internal struggle for me. But this is a very good mic. I've contemplated starting a podcast with my friends. We have sort of intellectual conversations. Mainly I just want to listen back to conversations and see how they happen and see how I think. So I want to record conversations with my friends and just listen back to them for my own purpose. So yeah, I'm sure you do that with these that you do and learn things about yourself and make improvements. It's a really good like meditation is one way of looking back at the self. This is another way. Yeah,
Definitely. So like you've been watching my YouTube channel for some time now?
Yeah,
How long?
I first saw one video which Devin uploaded to his channel, and I was like, hey, I love Eternal Life as well. I never thought someone would try to start some community specifically based around that, but it has to happen at some point.
Oh, was it the one where he said where it was titled New Year's resolution, live forever? Was it that one?
No, it was some time ago. I don't think it was that one. And then
Okay.
I watched a lot of your older ones, and then I've listened to a lot of live streams and commented. I was the sesquipedalian alien. And
Oh, okay. You were the sesquip. I can never say that. Sesquipedalian.
it's called sesquipedalian. It's a word which literally means long word, or polysyllabic word. It's one of my favorite words. It's a polysyllabic word which means polysyllabic word. It's great.
So alien, are you into aliens? Do you think aliens are, do you believe that aliens exist? Are we alone in the universe?
Sure, I think you can say, given the amount of probability that they exist, or plausibility that they exist, that they do exist, and they're out there somewhere. It's just the universe is very big, and I actually subscribe to a way more general theory, which I've sort of come up with myself. I just call it the infiniverse, not just the multiverse. I think every combination of everything is happening and did happen and will happen. I don't like the concepts of space and time. Ultimately, I think I can break everything. This is going to get really broad right here. I'm going super off wherever. I think I can break everything down into potential. I think potential is the baseline artifact of reality. And I think you can find that in everything. Only potential exists. I think that's it. But also in terms of a multiverse, I think you know what that is, and
So are you saying that, like, for instance, if you were to die, hypothetically, let's
Sure.
hope that doesn't happen.
Sure.
Hypothetically, if you were to die, are you saying that you think at some point you would exist again in some kind of multiverse, and that your consciousness
it wouldn't work like that.
Okay.
It could, in as far as we manufacture that. I think in addition to there being an infinite number of real verses, I do also think that Sam Harris is right in him saying that he's basically just quoting Nick Bostrom when he says that there's also going to be many simulated universes within every real universe, given that they occur in those universes. So it's like it's compounded infinity, it seems to me. But what I said about potential was I just don't like where we're going down the rabbit hole of trying to find the baseline of the universe and what it is. The guy like Eric Verlinde or whatever, he thinks gravity doesn't exist, and I think he's very much onto something there, it being a factor of other things. And you can break it down into what people go: gravity, electromagnetism, weak nuclear force, strong nuclear force. I just find these self-destroying in a sense. I think if you look into them as much as you should, and just, I think the baseline of reality has to be conceptual. I think it has to be understandable if we are to understand it, which is to say, if we are to understand it, it has to be conceptual. So that's where I get to potential. I think only potential exists. That just feels like that word, in what it means, feels like it encompasses all of reality. And it, like our universe, as I like to just call our verse, it's infinitely expandable and infinitely reducible. Potential as a concept.
Interesting. So you're super like interested in this, like the nature of the universe. And I want to ask you a question about the simulated reality. A lot of people are into this. You know, Elon Musk was acting like it's like such a certainty that we're all in a simulation. What's your ideas on this.
I can't argue with the probability argument that given these certain things, I'm sure you know it, that it's most likely that we're in a simulated universe. I
See, but
honestly,
I don't even
it
I don't
wouldn't.
even get to that point. I don't get to this most likely that we're in a simulation.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll quote Sam Harris again.
Oh, is this and Sam Harris? All Sam Harris is doing is quoting Nick Bostrom.
Yeah,
right?
he's just reading Nick Bostrom and making a
Yeah.
podcast.
I have not even agreed with that premise that we're most
short
likely in a
premise
simulation.
that
What?
we can do it. The next step is we will do it. The next step after that is that it will outnumber reality. It will in reality. Now that's a difficult thing to get to because I think reality is infinite and there's an infinite number of them insofar as that's conceptual. To have that work with my theory, there would have to be a more or a higher infinity of simulated universes than just normal infinacy. I can't even say it. It's a really weird thing to me.
It is.
And
It is
might be
weird. I
untenable.
think.
I don't know.
I feel like Nick Bostrom's idea there. It's like mental masturbation. Like
It really is. It sort of is.
No, we cannot say we're most likely in a simulation. That's just crap. To me, it seems like this is the atheists. This is the atheists wanting it to be true. This is like their coping mechanism. They want this to be a simulation because if this is a simulation, then if we die, we just wake up in some other world. This is their heaven. This is the atheist heaven.
I think I sort of have a problem with the premise that we will do it, and we will do it in this way. It's difficult. Yeah, it makes me go off in my own mind.
Exactly. That's all. That's a presumption from the very start because there's no guarantee we would actually
there's multiple
simulate
premises.
real consciousness. We could simulate something that might look like a consciousness, but for all we know, it would not even be a real consciousness. It could just be a bunch of automatons going around pretending like they're consciousness, and they have no consciousness. There's no guarantee we could ever create consciousness.
Yeah, there's many problems you could have with it because the unlikelihood, because there would be an infinite number of or at least more simulated universes, but there would also be tons of poorly simulated universe. I mean, the likelihood that we're in one of the really, 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 really good ones, that makes it extremely hard to believe. But I can't, as long as you get through certain parts of the argument, it's difficult to disprove at the end, even though it does seem very crazy. It's a very crazy thought.
It's to me, it's just wishful thinking. Then, of course, I'd love there to be a simulation. Oh, I would love it if this was a simulated world, and then that means I could just die and then wake up in the real world. It's like the Matrix.
Take me forward.
Talk about talk about a comfort. And I think that's what's going on with these atheists, like Elon Musk. He's acting like it's like so certain that this is a simulation. This is bullcrap.
Yeah, I don't think he's certain. I think he just, or at least I haven't read anything that he is absolutely certain. I think he just puts forth the simulation argument as it's called, and just stops there, like most of the people.
There's a few quotes though that I could show you where he's just like he's acting so certain.
Yeah, I'm sure he's very pompous in it. I have no doubt.
Very pompous.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about the
level.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Yeah. I was just
Elon Musk, by the way, is a deathist. Did you know that?
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't like his focus on trying to colonize space right now. I think that's a pretty. I think that shouldn't be our primary focus as a species right now. I don't like where he's throwing all his money into rockets and blah blah blah. It seems frivolous for our species in our current moment.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
Ian,
I don't
we were
as much as I think about reality and our universe. I really don't care to look up at the stars too much. It's just not.
All right,
yeah.
here's a direct quote from Elon Musk. He said, "I definitely don't want to live forever." Doesn't get any more clear than that.
For sure, deathist. There you go.
Yeah, total deathist.
You can't contextualize that enough to get that back. He is. Yep. That's fucking great.
Yeah. And see, someone like Elon Musk, he thinks he's gonna wake up in some other world when he dies. So he loses his fear of death. That's what the simulation theory does. It's just like the heaven. It's like opium. You're absolutely right there. It's the opium. It's the opium of atheists, just like heaven is the opium of religious people.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. In being a no, you just said it. I totally agree.
Yeah. So Ian, what are your chances you put on the simulate that this is all simulation?
The chances of this being a simulation. I try not to think about that. I mean, I have thoughts about that also, but the chances, that's very hard to find out. I don't know how Elon Musk thinks that we're living in a simulation. I don't. Pragmatically speaking, you have to kind of assume that this is the only thing that you have. So why risk? Why entertain that? It's just dumb.
Yeah, I agree. It's a moot point. It's silly to try to come up with a figure like, oh, what % chance? It's silly.
It as a disincentivizer to want to live forever is a bad aspect of believing it.
Exactly. Yeah. If anything, you'd want to.
I'm just rephrasing what you said.
Likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very true. I think that's how I try to construct a lot of my philosophy. I'm creating incentivizers to want to live forever.
Absolutely.
So I'll just assume the worst. I'll just assume there is no afterlife.
De-incentivizers.
Yeah, and everyone's looking for the de-incentive. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're looking for what's going to give them the most comfort in regards to death. I'm looking for what's going to give me the least comfort in regards to death, so I can be hyper afraid and hyper motivated to do something to fight death.
Yeah, as long as you keep your intentions intact, whatever you do to pursue those is yeah.
Yeah. So, in watching any of my videos, have you found any like major points of disagreement yet? I'm sure most people out there watching and think they must have some disagreements. Have you found any so far?
I think we would probably disagree in aspects of our utopian society, which is to say what we should do right now and what we should do in 10 years and opinions on certain things. Like if we were just to talk about the legality of certain things, I think we could probably find disagreement. Like I asked you if you think cigarettes should be illegal. You said no, with just the basic more freedom. People should be free to do that. I have the freedom versus security argument a lot with myself, and I have had it a lot, and I have it with many of my friends, and I think as an end conclusion of it that freedom is secured. And I think that just doing away with, say, just for example, cigarettes, removing them from existence, not manufacturing them, not thinking about that, not doing that, is a freedom that can be secured in them not existing. And I think you can replace cigarettes in that context with many different things.
So you're
think that something like the prohibition will happen that'll just sort of they won't care, they'll just keep on doing that and just I don't know.
Yeah, I people have brought up prohibition to me just every time I try to make this point, and you really just have to go
on the same argument. Wouldn't then? So you'd have a prohibition of cigarettes. Would you have a prohibition of prostitution?
Prohibition of prostitution. That's.
I mean, it's just as dangerous as cigarettes.
It can be dangerous. If it's not, if we could really, because cigarettes are reliably unsafe. I mean, but prostitution can be made, at least.
Would you have a prohibition of McDonald's?
I wouldn't want people eating meat. I think we could, if we needed some biological sustenance of, I think insects are a really good thing. You probably know a lot about
Oh
that.
yes. Oh
Insects are absolutely amazing.
Yes.
But it would go very far. I think. And I'm not.
I guess
even sure
my
about,
concern
You know,
with that
actually,
is.
I think I'm in favor of the whole banning cigarettes. Now that I think about it.
Oh yeah, no, you I mean, just imagine if they didn't exist and then someone tried to introduce them into society. I mean, they wouldn't pass
Bingo.
the FDA. They wouldn't be able to be sold.
Yeah.
But since they were here a long time ago, and everyone sort of just guns, alcohol, and tobacco, they've just stayed with us. Through our attempts to create a civilization.
With cigarettes, if you were going to make the argument to have prohibitions, it's a little more clear cut with something like cigarettes. So it'd be harder for me to argue against that one particular. But what about something like there becomes gray areas when
absolutely,
like something like meat. What if
meat? Yeah,
I mean, I could just see a society where they start banning things and then they ban meat. And then what if some people out there feel like they need meat, like real meat, and not this, lab grown meat, but they need like real meat that's like butchered and like they have their own reasons or whatever,
Yeah. The creation of a black argument, the creation of a black market always comes up when you talk about banning something, and I don't think I've ever brought this up to someone before. I remember researching it on my own, but when the Great Britain, I believe, banned handguns back in 1991, they saw a spike in crime, and I believe a spike in homicide, if I'm remembering the graphs correctly, and that is actually very knowable, and you can predict that, and people do. They say it all the time. But they also increased their police force, and if you look at the graphs over the course of time, because after they banned them, only criminals had the handguns, and then they ramped up the police force. Police force dealt with the criminals. Criminals are no longer being created in the society. At least at a very lower rate. And now they have a lower crime rate and a lower homicide rate than I think they did before. It's slightly lower. It's taken some time to get through that arc of shittiness. But that's what happens. If we ban cigarettes, we'll have to make the law, enforce the law, and then eventually they just won't exist.
I guess my concern, my biggest concern with this prohibition of certain substances, and what if somebody thinks they need cigarettes for their health medicinally? What if there's it's tobacco, like that's an herb? So where do you draw the line? Do you just ban the chemical cigarettes? Do you ban tobacco, just pure tobacco cigarettes? What if somebody decides that they need the chemicals that are in the cigarettes? What if there's a certain chemical?
Exceptions for that. Usually, if there's usually exceptions to those.
Yeah.
It seems to me to be going against medical freedom, though, because if you start to ban substances like cigarettes, then they're going to be wanting. What if the government decides, oh, okay, actually, we need to ban marijuana too because that's bad for you? And who's making these decisions?
Well,
I
want it
the
to be
messiness of the bureaucracy.
Me wanting something to be whatever shouldn't make. I want most people to want, say, cigarettes to be illegal. That's what I want first. Everything should be democratic. And I would probably meet you more close to where your viewpoints seem to be. I'm just so in favor of voting that I don't even think Congress should exist. I want as much of a direct democracy as I possibly can have. I don't need a guy to ride horseback to wherever. So these decisions should be as democratic as they possibly can be. And I don't think I think it's an eventual thing. I think it will be more de facto than de jure. I think it will be a cultural decision over many generations, and it has been, and you can see that.
So what happens if the people are really stupid? Like, would you still go ahead with the democracy?
Yeah, that's a very interesting.
Even if you know that. Okay.
The morality of treason is a very interesting thing, and I think about it a lot now that I have Donald Trump as my leader. I know you're a Donald Trump fan.
I don't care. I get it.
I'm a fan of. Oh, you are. Who
I'm a soft Trumpy.
You're a soft. I am
a
soft Trump fan as well. I will defend him in certain aspects. I think he's dangerously unintelligent, and I don't know what he actually believes, and that's basically my two main arguments against him.
You've been listening to Sam Harris a lot.
I've lost my train of thought. To whom have I been listening?
Sam Harris is brainwashing you against Trump.
No. I am very likely more in favor of certain Trump ideas and beliefs and actions than you may think. I'm less of a fan of him as an individual and as a brain.
I kind of like the idea of monarchy, by the way. I'm not sure. So instead of if we don't have a republic, that would be the next best thing, in my opinion.
If we could not have a republic?
No. I'm fine with the republic, but if
I'm not. I want a democracy.
Ian Murphy wants a monarchy of the Trump family for generations to come.
Sure, why not?
I do. I'm in favor of that.
I'm only. So I actually don't rely. I don't really trust humans to do monarchy work. I think that it would do great with AI. I think so we would have to sort of instill its value, our own values, and the AI would get it, and then.
But who's programming that AI? They'll program it with their own secret hidden agendas. Look at their dirty little fingers all over that.
Open code.
Yeah.
Open source.
Open source. An open source code government. Yeah, I've heard that idea before. I guess with democracy, the problem is the tyranny of the majority. It's like, okay, we're having to deal with these stupid idiots directing our society in some stupid way.
Yeah.
That's what we have now, and most people are religious, and they're not going to be in favor of life extension, and they're not going to be wanting to have trillions of dollars go towards this goal of life extension.
Yeah, it's progress is slow. It's taken a long ass time, and it will continue. It will take all the time it takes just to get everyone to the level of what they should be focusing on, and the thoughts they should be having every day.
What do you think of Stefan Molyneux? You like him?
Stefan? I have not heard of him.
You never heard of Stefan Molyneux?
I just did. I do not know who he is, though.
Oh, wow. Maybe I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Am I pronouncing his name wrong, Ian? Is it Stefan Molyneux? Or Stefan Molyneux. Okay, it's a silent X. He's big time. And I like his
commentator,
politics.
Anarcho-capitalist. And I talked about Trump. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm really leaning towards
this guy before.
His political leanings
Baldy.
About real just freedom. He's into.
I'm pretty sure.
I think you and him would have a lot of disagreements because he's into really just not having the government step in and just start mandating everyone's.
No.
Mandating morality and just he's like a hyper libertarian, and I think.
Yeah, I don't like saying that I'm in favor of that, just because I don't think that it's going to happen that way. I think most progress is made just like this, just the populace talking to each other. I don't think it will happen that way. I think we will make all the progress we need, really, without that much legislation. I think the government really should be in existence to do very few specific things, and then we can do all the rest of the things. Yeah. I just want way more collectivized agreement on things.
What do you think of when I talk about and I say this is one of my most controversial ideas, which I got a lot of flack about on my channels, when I talk about and I say, if we don't live forever, if we eventually die and cease to exist, our life is meaningless and pointless. People don't like that.
It's you can rephrase it and then sort of end the argument. You can rephrase it as, okay, well, if we live forever, then or wait, what was the? I was thinking about this earlier before this.
That if we don't live forever, if we eventually die and cease to exist, our life is meaningless.
If we don't live forever, our life is meaningless. But if we live forever, our life could be meaningless in the same way. But it isn't meaningless because we're never what was I thinking? I actually had a slight point there. I may remember it, but I am butchering it right now. Trying to remember past thoughts. Yeah. Anyway, I do not have a point.
What do you think of all my? What do you think of my shaming of the degenerate people? Are you on board with that message, or?
No. I think shaming people and judging them and telling them is a good thing. We should all say our thoughts more, and to people. I total agreement with that.
Awesome. So you're pro slut shaming, pro fat shaming, pro butt sex shaming. Are we on board there?
I'm pro whatever the baseline things of that is. Just I'm pro shaming in behaviors which increase the likelihood of, you know what I'm about to say. It's just
and we're pro. See, I wouldn't mandate that we can't have cigarettes, but I would definitely shame people for smoking. That's how I want to control people in that way. I don't want to say they can't do it, because if we say they can't do it, they're going to want to do it all the more, right?
Is probably a better solution as well. Making this interpersonal and making this real for people is probably better.
Don't you think that you guys can use your time wisely instead of just because I'm imagining you guys just sort of going out in public and I don't know, because it's hard to change people's minds just like going out in public, and when you're with someone that's fairly close, then I think then it's necessary to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if you were here when we were talking about earlier how it's going to take longer time to convince everyone that they want to live over the course of eternity than it is to actually create that possibility. So we're just going to have to, everybody who's going to die, we're going to have to watch them die as we live forever until everyone starts living forever. That's yeah. But I don't think you need the claim that because we die or when we die, our life becomes meaningless. I think you only need the claim that if we live one moment longer, our life is that much more meaningful. I don't think you need the first thing. It's just if we live longer, more meaning. So we should continue to do that. I think your first claim is actually not wrong, but just not complete.
I guess it's just me. Just
oh yeah, it's a healthy
calling
response.
It how I see it.
Yeah,
it's just,
no, it should.
It's just me being honest. It's how
Absolutely.
I really feel.
Absolutely.
But it might not be the most strategic. What if that's such a extreme message that people don't even want to hear that? I don't know.
Or perhaps there may be purposes of trying to shock people into this mindset or ease them into the mindset. I'm not sure which is better. I certainly think I was shocked into it as a child. I remember crying myself to sleep as a kid in the realization of my parents' death. I mean, just knowing that they were going to die one day just brought me to tears.
Wow. Me
As
too.
a kid,
We have more
it's,
similarities.
and it still does. And it's
Mhm.
it's very difficult. Yeah.
It is. Did you ever cry about the thought of your parents' death, Ian, or your own death? Has you
I
ever?
I am
cried?
prepared.
I think it's more telling when you if it happens as a child.
Yeah, it
perhaps
happened to
not.
me as a child.
Yeah.
Like,
I
when
think it
you're
happens to a
dealing with
lot of people.
People
As a
that
kid.
complain, I deal with people like my dad. He always complains about like, oh, he's gonna kill himself, he's gonna die. So like, I feel like I'm getting ready to just not care because he keeps reminding me about that. And it's just like, oh my god. And also my parents told me that they don't want to live forever, so I'm kind of like, ready for that. Like I've
I would
had
love to
dreams
So
where,
you're.
huh?
That's sad.
I
Yeah,
would love to see a poll done of just asking people across the age spectrum of, hey, do you want to live forever? Do you want to live forever? Perhaps it spikes like right around 25 or something. Like 25-year-olds are the people who want to live forever the most, and then it starts going down. That might be it. I don't know of any polling whatever that has done that. But that would be interesting to see what age demographic wants to live the longest and put them in charge.
Yeah, I think it would be younger people. I think older people generally tend to come up with more of the fox and the sour grapes. They feel it's totally out of their reach, and so they just start to just comfort themselves and say, "Oh, it's okay. I didn't want it anyways." It's that sour grapes effect.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because you wanted to ban cigarettes. I'd be curious about what are your thoughts on like gun control because it's kind of the same issue.
I want saying that I want to ban cigarettes. I think they will eventually not exist, and that's my prediction. I think that will happen before any actual maybe. It's a complicated thing. I don't know how much our culture will shift.
Yeah.
Guns.
I agree with that. I think
Guns are very similar. It's God. It's a very difficult subject to talk about because you're talking about safety and you're talking about self-preservation, and it's like with cigarettes. I think guns will eventually not exist as well. Insofar as we know what they are right now, I think we'll have just better self-defense weaponry and just more effective self-defense weaponry, and we'll reduce crime and prevent crime in that way. But guns that go bang.
To me, it seems like guns are like a. To me, it seems like guns are like a Pandora's box. It's like it's open, the technology's there, and we're gonna have 3D printers. People will eventually be able to 3D print their own guns. You're just not gonna get rid of guns. Like it's just like they're there forever.
Perhaps
And
the solution is more.
And to me, if you try to ban guns, the criminals will always find a way to get the guns in the black market, and it will put us all the law-abiding citizens in danger because we won't be able to defend themselves. What do you think about that?
I do think that's not a wrong argument, but I think a facetious one, because making anything illegal if it's already legal. Let's just say something super terrible is I don't know, because you would just deal with the black market, and then you just increase police activity, and then you just deal with that. You deal with the criminals. I think it's very plausible that we can get rid of all guns in a myriad of fashions and just bring in better self-defense weaponry, like fingerprint technology and making it like just if a gun for the purpose of self-defense were to always call 911 as it's fired every time it's fired, that would be a better gun than one that doesn't. So we could just keep doing that. And I think old guns don't exist anymore. They've been broken, and we live in a pretty great time already. And
what's to stop someone from just making their own gun in their own house?
There isn't, but just collectively reducing interest and now it's just I really don't have opinions. I really have only predictions about these things. I just see the world and I just go, okay, I think this will happen, regardless of how I feel about it. And I think
is this one of the areas you kind of disagree with Trump on, because he was more in line with the NRA and having pro-gun freedom? Would you want to restrict, be more in the camp of thought that wants to have gun control? And is this one of your disagreements with Trump?
It really depends on how it's done and what it is. I think certain things can be detrimental unless they're done correctly. It's a very touchy subject because there would have to be phases of civilization through which we have to go that would be worse. If you ban guns, crime goes up. And because only criminals have guns. You said that. And then the only thing I have to say after that is, well, we just have to deal with that, and then we can continue to deal with that. As long as we can reduce, as long as our intention is to reduce the number of homicides and that type of stuff. Where
do you stand on gun control, Ian Murphy? Those
it's a complicated
interesting
thing.
ideas, though.
Free for all.
It is a complicated thing. Free for all?
Yeah, just don't ban any guns.
Yeah.
My thing is instead of focusing on the guns, we have to figure out how to change someone's values, or if they're like a monster, we have to figure out how to change their nature. So it's that whole morality thing. Because if I really do think that we won't need guns if everyone's pretty much moral.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that.
It may be easier to change everyone's mind on certain things than it is to rack up all these 300 million guns. And we should be trying to do that anyway. We should be trying to make everyone a better, more moral person and focus on moral things and not get caught up in other things and perhaps shoot up a cultural center in Canada. We have to get everyone to be very peace loving and that thing. And just keeping that conversation going is probably better than anything you could do legislation-wise. Yeah.
What do you think about the Trump's hashtag Muslim ban? Although I know it's not technically a Muslim ban, but it's a ban of the people coming in from certain Middle Eastern countries. What do you think about that?
Very few disagreements with it. Even conservative pundits, the only thing they were railing against back at it was that it was implemented poorly and perhaps too quickly, and they tried to do it too quickly. But even I think you can even defend doing it quickly and just getting it over with and okay, now we have this, we have secured our state, now let's deal with this thing. I don't care if your kid's in handcuffs, we had to deal with this problem. It's immediate. It's yeah, but I think just having really, really good vetting is ultimately a good solution to, or at least something that I would have done instead, just really ramped up that. But
so you're kind of on board with Trump's immigration policies, it sounds.
Oh yes,
right?
I'm not particularly in favor of letting in refugees from certain areas. I understand the risk that comes with that. And there's a cost-benefit analysis you have to make and how much you value your interests over trying to help the global society and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately our solution should be, in regards to the refugees, is not to get them all refuge, but to put them back home and put them back. All Syrian refugees should go back to Syria eventually. I think we should really try to solve that and really do that.
Yeah, I like Trump's idea of putting the safe zones in, not in America. Don't let them come into America, but just make refugee camps over there.
Yeah,
where they are.
And the certain countries that I think should have been on the ban but weren't. I know why they weren't. It's because they just weren't on the list which Congress had passed during the Obama administration. They used that just for hastiness purposes. but the ones which weren't on the list are countries in which Trump has business ties, and that's a bit.
Is that a tape measure, Ian?
Yes.
Sorry for cutting you off there, Raymond.
No,
I'm
you're
just
good.
curious about Ian's tape measure. Nice sound effects. Thank you, Ian.
I'm sorry. I need to do stuff with my hands.
That's fine. I want to know your opinions too on the Muslim ban, Ian.
I think it's fine. I don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah, we are definitely not losing any much of anything here. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah,
It's a good thing, I think.
If we could make it very long, I think we would see the effects of it long after Trump is president and during his presidency, of just let's just watch the numbers of terrorist attacks in our country fall by some number. I think.
Yeah.
You won't have the sons of certain immigrants shooting up a nightclub. It'll be a generational positive impact.
Did you guys see Sam Harris's new video he came out with, and they're doing a Kickstarter, and it was about the Muslim ban and kind of criticizing Trump for that? I thought it was very regressive, and I plan on judging him. I hope now that you're a Sam Harris fan, I want to know your thoughts on that.
I have not seen this video, but I probably just in me thinking that it may be a little too overboard. I totally agree with all the premises of why we're doing this and everything. I think that might be where Harris goes with it. Like, okay, we don't need to do this. All these people don't need.
I think it's underboard. I think he should have put more countries on that ban list.
I do think more countries should have been taken into account. But I don't know, because it being temporary does change things. Yeah, there are certain things. Yeah, I'll have to watch what Sam says, because I'm it's a case provision by provision basis, and I don't know the full extent of the executive order.
Haley, how are you doing? Are we putting you to sleep yet, Haley?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's all right.
Lying here, listening.
I'm just having fun with the new guy, Raymond.
About politics, so I can't
Picking his brain. Yeah, here's another question I have for you, Raymond. So, are you a health nut? Obviously,
Very
Ian's not much of a health nut. He's eating McDonald's, which we will fix. We will fix that.
I don't really try to make every meal I eat as nutritionally perfect as possible, but just not eating over some days and really reducing the amount I'm intaking, I think is a huge thing. So calling that a focus on health, you could call me a nut in that regard.
Do you avoid gluten? Are you a gluten avoider?
I do, but it gives me absolute hives over my entire body. I am allergic to many things.
Oh, wow.
Like if my mom and I ever have like brown, or no, not brown. We like to have brown rice or spaghetti or blah blah blah. But if we have white spaghetti, blah blah blah, we will both be itching ourselves and just feel very inflamed.
Are you allergic to peanut butter?
No, I'm not.
Are you allergic to peanut butter, Ian?
No, I'm not. I love it. Anyway, do you think?
Then why not eat peanut butter instead of a McDonald's burger? That's my question for you.
Just get some protein
I
in you
do.
and call it a day.
I do. But I don't think that's enough. I have to have a variety.
Ian, there's just not enough excuse. You cannot excuse your McDonald's eating here. You get an apple, you slice it up, you dip it in the peanut butter. This is not rocket science. It is much healthier than a McDonald's burger.
I do that too.
Then what's with the McDonald's?
sometimes I don't have the apple or the peanut butter, so I just go.
Oh, while you're talking to Raymond, he sometimes only eats one meal a day. So
I have not
just
eaten
starve yourself
anything
for
today.
That's wonderful. See,
I had a
I tend to
coffee
starve
this
myself
morning,
also.
like a tiny cold coffee, and just like 8 cups of water, just as I'm working, because there's nothing to do at my job. But
oh, what do you
and
do? What's your job?
I work at a gym, and I fold towels. I fold very
Oh,
few
wow.
towels. Yeah. I do nothing. I listen to. They let me have an earphone in, and I just listen to podcasts and YouTube videos all day. It's absolutely incredible that I get paid. I have no idea how they allow me to stay
Jealous.
there. And I just bike there, I bike back.
That's awesome. That's a good hookup right there.
It is the best. I don't know how. I've been a member there since I was like 7. I don't know why I didn't work there all throughout high school and shit. Oh, but it's great. It's so great.
Do you spray down the seats with what do they spray down the seats with to kill the germs? Do you do that?
Dude, I don't even do that. All I do is I walk in. I maybe get the towels from the locker room maybe like 10 times a day, and I slack off hard. I sit in the restroom and do nothing, but just like I do all my homework at work. I just turn it into work. I've just condensed my life into work, and it's great because I have a great time. I do it.
What's
Yeah,
the most dangerous thing you do that like you're thinking, oh crap? When you're thinking your eternal life strategy,
The most
what's the
dangerous
thing
thing I
you need to
do-
work on the most?
I do smoke a lot of marijuana. It's not super dangerous. It does have medicinal effects. I do have a fairly active brain, so reducing its awareness at sometimes is good for sleeping purposes and just hanging out with people with whom I would not really be able to hang out if I were entirely sober. It would be fairly difficult. I'm not that great at meditation to hang out with all
Would
of
you
these
be-
people.
Would you be very upset if the government decided to ban marijuana?
I would not. I think people should be forced to enjoy their own lives soberly. I think people should have to be able to get to that point. And ultimately, I think it should be legalized. Although, but my problem there. My focus is I want everyone to really be able to be happy, just sitting and being content and being fulfilled without any external stimuli. I think that so getting rid of all things that may bring that on would force that to happen. But I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think people should be able to make that decision for themselves and go, okay, I'm never going to smoke this again. I think that's a fundamentally better way to have it done. I just had to give that huge caveat there. Yeah.
And you want these bannings to be done through a democratic process eventually.
I want everything to be democratic and really conversational. I want people
But still,
to want what they want and
Isn't
everything.
Isn't it kind of a problem though if like let's say 55% of the country want to ban marijuana, and what happens to the other 45% of the country that's like, hell no, I want my marijuana, and I want my cigarettes and I want my tobacco and these things are medicinal for me, and like, don't you see that as a problem?
Yeah,
It's a tyranny of the majority.
I wouldn't be in favor of the ban. I would be in favor of an effect of it, that which is what I was saying. But that effect can be achieved in better ways. So
okay,
I would. Yeah, that's.
So you want people to like voluntarily just give up their cigarettes and marijuana because it's better for them not to do it.
I want to convince people to want to be content and fulfilled with less things. Ultimately, just
I am all on board with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then,
I think
we have no disagreement there. We have no disagreement there. I want people to voluntarily give up cigarettes and give up marijuana. I've never smoked marijuana in my life, but I guess my concern is,
damn,
yeah,
really?
I've never smoked it in my life. Never, not even a puff.
How many times have you been offered it?
I'm like Devin Tracy. He's never smoked either.
Yeah. That is.
Yeah.
I've
I've been offered quite a lot of times. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
going
lived in
on,
Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii, and there was a bunch of people smoking all the time, stoners
Really?
over there. I just rejected it every time. They're like, "Hey, try this." I'm like, "Nope."
Yeah, I was.
And there was all kinds of
I'm-
drugs. There was like mushroom circles, people handing out bags of dried mushroom caps, and ayahuasca ceremonies, and every drug. I never took anything.
Oh, so you haven't ever taken any psychedelics or anything?
Nothing. Have you?
No. Wow. This is all natural. Very nice. I've taken acid a few times. I've taken psilocybin once. I have been smoking marijuana on and off over 6 years.
Question: are there safe psychedelics? Because I'm kind of interested. I haven't really smoked. I've
Yeah.
tried it once, but just,
If you would, I would start with around 2 to 2.5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms if you want to understand what the psychedelic spectrum is. You'll be able to understand it. That'll get you there. Yeah, I'd have to remember my experience just to talk about it correctly.
There's
but
always
I
a kind of
do-
risk, isn't there?
I do think there are. Wait, what'd you say?
It's always a kind of risk. Like when they
Oh, yeah,
when they
that-
talk about safe psychedelics, there's always
Yeah.
a worry. You know, people have told me, "Oh, they're safe," and I've always thought, well, "What if something goes wrong? What if my brain is permanently altered in a horrible way? I mean, this
Yeah.
horrible bad trip forever."
I think
too
it
scared.
will- Yeah, I think your mind will be permanently altered in that there will be new understandings and memories of understanding your experience. It's I only if you want to take them do I think you should take them. But I started with 3.5 grams of psilocybin because I knew I wouldn't be able to keep all that down, and I wanted the most powerful trip I could achieve as my first trip. And I remember just puking really because I hadn't eaten anything at all either, and I was like downing rice and Cheetos just to try to get some material in there and puke it up just so I could puke up some of this 3.5 grams. And I did manage to get some of it up. And then I was very, very, very happy over the next 5 hours. I was playing individual piano keys and just listening to them resonate. And then I went to my guitar and I just plucked one string and just, oh God, just the amount of information that was being processed so effectively in that moment, and understanding it as just an entire orchestra coming out of this one
Wow.
frequency. My main purpose in doing them was just for fun. I have to be honest about that. Although I didn't discount the increases of understanding my experience. It was ultimately beneficial, I think, to me.
So, Ian, I asked Raymond a little earlier what the most dangerous thing he does. Same question to you, Ian. Obviously, besides the McDonald's, what's the most dangerous thing you do that you would want to fix?
I mean, basically, it's my diet.
Your diet, yeah.
I mean,
Are we
where I
talking about
live,
a daily
I guess,
basis
is
or
a
the-
big thing as well. If I could move to Denmark or Norway, I would do that. Or Japan, just a place with a fundamentally longer life expectancy, because America's just went down due to, I think, non-health related reasons. But if I could live in Japan or Denmark or Norway, I would definitely do that. So just me staying here, I guess that's a bad health decision. It's not too great, and it's not terrible, but
Yeah, well, diet's something that could be fixed, pretty easy. So I think that's not too much of a concern. You just work on it.
Sometimes I go along with people too much. So I really didn't want to go traveling because I know I get headaches, but my mom guilted me into going with her because she thought that our grandma was going to die. And
Oh wow.
so I was over there, and I hate the plane rides because I get really, really bad headaches. Like I feel like my head's going to crack open. 'Cause of all
Dude,
the
me
pressure.
too. Oh wait,
Yeah.
only from flying?
So from flying, just high altitude. Sometimes, well, Bolivia is pretty high up, so you kind of get the same effect in a way. It's also like a really terrible place to be at. So I really like the U.S. I don't want to travel anywhere else, honestly.
Yeah. Plus, flying itself is dangerous. That might be right up there with eating McDonald's. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, probably I don't know. I guess I could say the biggest thing that I do to prevent death is just not driving a car at this point in reality. Just riding my
I don't
bike
even have a
everywhere
license.
on the safety paths is I think a good decision given my intentions.
I used to bike. My bike got stolen 2 years ago.
My bike got stolen too. I had to get a new one.
High five.
Do you bicycle, Haley? Do you like to bike?
Yeah, I do quite a bit.
It's
What's
super
the
fun.
exercise you get? What's your favorite exercise, Haley?
I think riding my bike when I have to go out.
Have you ever punted with Aubrey de Grey?
Oh, yes, once. And his
Ooh,
wife
tell
was
us about that.
I didn't know you hung out with them.
Yeah, yes, I did before I turned on.
She
me.
punted. Picture Haley and Aubrey on those big boats with the punting. How cool is that?
When I think of punt, I think of football.
Oh yeah.
You punt the ball.
Yeah.
We were sitting in the boat while Aubrey was punting along, and then as we were going along, Aubrey dropped the pole and it went straight on my head.
Oh no.
Nice.
Yeah, and you quickly bent down and he said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." But
Wow, that could have been bad.
But I enjoyed it.
Fun times. Did Aubrey offer you any of his beer? Did you take a sip? Was it good? I'm just kidding. Do you drink beer, Haley?
He actually said to me, "Do you want a beer?" And
Oh.
I said no. So I think I had like Diet Coke instead.
Coke? Oh no, that's probably even worse than beer.
I don't know what they have in pubs. I don't think they have fruit juice in there, do they?
Oh, they might for the kids. Oh no, they don't have kids in pubs probably. So. All right, what's the most? This question is for everyone. What's the most? What futuristic technology are you most looking forward to? I'll start with me. I'm looking forward to the virtual technology. Obviously, besides curing aging and life extension, but I'm looking to virtual reality in the future. Simulating my own virtual heaven in the Willy Wonka factory, chocolate factory.
I'm very interested in enhancing the senses which we already have. I already have so much understanding of these senses. Like if my eyes just had a few more cones and rods, that would be, I feel like that would be cooler to me than having an entirely new sense, like say an echolocate or something. I think being able to see on new frequencies and hear across a more wide spectrum, that would be something I wouldn't be able to pass up. If
Eagle
that
eye
is,
vision.
Yeah, really everything that could be done there would be fantastic.
eagle eye hearing too, like far distances. You could spy in on people's conversations. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And just the biomechanism aspects of our future are really just infinite. We will be able to fly on our own and just do everything in insane things, just punch through whatever. I mean, it'll be amazing. every little thing that you can think of is possible.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Raymond on this. That I think that's the most exciting part, just to sort of upgrade our senses to experience pretty much anything that we want, do anything. If we're not able to get there on time, or just able to have it in a pragmatic way, the next best thing would just be to simulate everything.
I have a question.
Make us have that. Yeah.
To Rowan, this sort of goes in with what new mechanisms will create. If we can create safe sex, just perfectly safe sex, but sex robots, would you then say you would go for those, or would you continue not engaging in that as a biological function as yourself?
There might be a 2-hour limit to the use of these rooms. Okay. So I'm going to check with the director to be sure, since there's nobody exactly queuing up for the room. I didn't say anything. Well, I'll check into that.
Sorry about that. I couldn't even hear it. I didn't even know what she said. Is everything okay? All right. So I don't know what did she say, guys. Here we go. Okay, what was the question? I got just check.
Would you renounce your celibacy or end your celibacy if there were sex robots and
yeah
safe sex?
Oh, that's
I actually don't think that I would.
I would have to reevaluate the pros and cons as far as what would increase my chance of living forever. So it could be that having sex with sex bots, there could be disadvantages in terms of my eternal life. Obviously, if I get addicted to sex with these sex bots, and that could be counterproductive to living forever if I'm wasting all my time or whatever. It's become some weird addiction.
Yeah.
But there's also a health consideration for me, because I have this post-orgasmic illness syndrome, and it's this thing where if I have an orgasm, my brain I'll be like a zombie for like a week. I can't think straight, can hardly talk right.
Yeah, for sure. The effect can have more effects in different ways.
You heard about that?
I don't doubt it's reality.
So it's very for me there's a bigger reason why I wouldn't want to do that, just because it makes it so I cannot work as well. I can't talk as well with people. So it's putting a big wrench in the whole strategy for me, which is I need to be able to function. I need to be able to work. And so I might not, I might do that with sex bots, but then might not go to the full, orgasm or whatever. I don't know. It would be a fun thing, but I'd have to think about it and I have to weigh the pros and cons.
Absolutely. It's more of a question about the effects of no sex on fulfillment and your potential to be fulfilled in any given moment than like wanting to live forever, but that still ties in as well. And I don't think I would ever. I don't think I would have sex with a sex robot.
Oh, really? Ever?
So I'm curious. Do you?
I think I would. Do I?
Yeah.
Currently, I guess you could say I do, but the longest I have gone without is 2.5 months, and I just did like a week or two stint to whatever. It's sort of an on and off thing. It's difficult. It's difficult to not do it. It's harder than not having sex.
Devin Tracy should be here right now. He'd love this. He'd love talking about sex bots and. He's here in spirit. Devin Tracy would say that sex bots are his most anticipated future technology. I'm guessing. I think so.
Yeah,
I'll have to ask him.
People like to rail against the positive effects of not doing it, saying that it doesn't give you any more time. It doesn't make you more productive in those ways. it doesn't. It doesn't really give me that much more time. It doesn't make me more productive in a lot of ways, but it does make me more fulfilled in what I do. I can feel that. I can sense that. I can sense an increase of fulfillment. And I like that word specifically, not really happiness or contentment, but fulfillment. I just like the word fulfill. It's just a fun word to me. But yeah. It's
Yeah, I could see like these sex bots just making people like totally addicted and into this sex bot lifestyle, and they're just obsessed with it, and like that's all they do. And just
I very well may never be able to beat my 2.5 month record ever again. That I have
yeah.
Unless someone gave you like a really good incentive, like $1 million.
I like to think my incentive is good enough, just my own happiness and fulfillment, but it's just like God, it's you know what I'm fucking talking about. I don't know how to explain this to you.
All right, you guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. They're gonna kick me out of the library because my time's almost up. But let's go with Haley. What technology are you looking forward to besides curing aging? If you could look forward to any future technology, what would it be?
We can't really hear you.
Oh,
I don't think she said anything yet.
yeah, I have. I'm not really sure apart from getting rid of aging, really.
Didn't you say that you wanted to be taller though?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's one aspect.
There's an enhancement you'll easily be able to get in the future with no problems. Probably super safe.
Be a supermodel.
Yeah.
Would that be possible in the torso, though?
In virtual, Haley would love virtual reality. Anything, she could just simulate everything she wants. See? All right, you guys. That's it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's been fun. And we shall do this again.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful, wonderful chat.
It was good talking.
Bye-bye.
I'll see you guys later.
Yes. Bye.
Peace.
Later.